Your headlines for Thursday, October 15th.
Okay.
Watchdog group seeks ethics probe of Oshkosh project by Senator Johnson's children. A Washington, D.C. government watchdog group is asking the State Ethics Commission to look into historic tax credits awarded to the children of Senator Ron Johnson 3 years ago. The ethics complaint surrounds the approval of historic tax credits worth up to $2.1 million. Since its deadline moved to October 15th, several Wisconsin counties still have low response rate, while Wisconsin ranks third in the nation with a self-response rate of 72.1%. If you haven't yet responded to the census, you can still do so today at 2020census.gov. Windy day throughout the area today with a high of 50 degrees and a low of 34 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Kroot.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. It's a dueling town hall Thursday tonight. And I got to find guest co-devil today. He's attorney Matt Flynn. You know Matt Flynn, former twice elected Democratic Party of Wisconsin chairman. And our good friend Matt Flynn, thank you so much for filling in for my little buddy.
Good to be with you, Kroot. This is a great show. Great show.
Well, it's always a little better when Dom's taking one of his frequent unexcused absences. Apparently, one of his close friends, I know him, Canadian Rob, doing a destination wedding in Florida in the middle of a pandemic. I said, safe travels, my friends.
Well, it's going to be a small congregation.
Let's hope so. Yeah. And we got Fancy Brian. So, the gang's all here. And we've got Gold Star father, Khizr Khan. You remember him from the 2016 DNC, and he appeared on this show in 16. And of course, Donald Trump, one of the first veterans, when he first showed his true colors, Matt, going after this Gold Star father, and of course, John McCain and others. Khizr Khan joining us at 2:30 Central Time. Way later in the show, I'm going to have some more help. Another fine co-host, former U.S. Attorney James Santelle. He's going to talk some Coney Barrett and the Unmasking, and of course, preparing for a challenged election. That'll be in the 4 o'clock happy hour. James Santelle joins us then. You can always join us on the big show, 844-967-2789, 844-96 party, man. It is a political party up in here. But tonight was supposed to be a debate night, Matt. And of course, first Trump got the COVID, and then he didn't want to do the virtual debate. And then so a town hall was offered to Joe Biden by ABC. This debate was supposed to be in a town hall context tonight. And ABC offers Joe Biden a town hall. And then those dirty rottens over at NBC book a competing town hall with Donald Trump at the same time, my understanding, Matt. What was your opinion of that move?
Kroot, that's a typical Trump scam. First of all, he was afraid to go up against Joe Biden the second time. The first time, it cost him 5 points in the polls where he lost it. And Biden said he's a clown and shut up. And he hasn't been talked to like that before, and he should have been talked to a lot more like that. So he's not going to do a second debate. He claimed because it was virtual. Well, let me tell you something. The Kennedy-Nixon debates were virtual. Nixon was in LA and Kennedy was in New York. It's good enough for them. It's good enough for Trump and Biden. So he chickened out, and then he lay in the weeds like the snake that he is. Biden gets himself a nice town hall on ABC, and he goes to NBC. And I'll tell you something. I'm disappointed in NBC. NBC says they're, a progressive network, and they jumped on it. A lot of people are saying that Chuck Todd should be fired for this. I don't agree with that. I think that it was a mistake of them to do it, but under the First Amendment, they can do it. But what Trump's going to try to do is say, oh, look, my ratings are more than Biden's. Well, I don't think they will be, but even if they were, it's because people like to watch a train wreck. People like to watch the macabre, the grotesque, the despicable. So that's what's going on. Let's just deal with it. Biden's going to get elected. He's doing great.
I think Biden is doing great, but let's stay on the town hall for a bit longer. Trump calls at least what is supposedly the progressive wing, MSDNC. I mean, he's derisive of the network, calls them fake news, and then they basically steal Joe Biden's thunder. And Matt, I disagree with you. Although I think Biden is going to win the election, I think the ratings machine that is Donald Trump, the Trumpster fire, the train wreck that's going to happen over on NBC, I think it's far more likely the people are going to tune into Trump. And then when they're done with Trump, they're going to be so filthy, they're going to turn off the TV and go take a shower, man. They're not going to get around to watching Joe.
Right. But frankly, who cares? Who cares? That doesn't mean they're going to vote for Trump.
No, now, I agree with that.
Right now, Trump's underwater with people over 65 by 10 points. Biden is skunking him in most demographics. And the fact is that people, for whatever reason, they demonized Hillary Clinton last time. They're not demonizing Biden. People like Biden. They were tricked into demonizing Hillary. So I don't care. Trump chickened out of a debate. There are two competing town halls. I get it. They did it at the same time to steal our ratings and all that. Ratings for this kind of thing aren't necessarily votes. The pandemic, people are still dying from it. He has still betrayed us to the commie Ruskies because he owes Russian organized crime $400 million. Because I believe the Steele video, and the fact of the matter, he's on there in unspeakable perversions. And the truth of the matter is that he's scared of Putin. If Putin, let me tell you something. If Putin said to him, put on one of Melania's dresses, expand it, put on high heels and makeup, and a sign that said, Mrs. Vladimir Putin, and I will escort you into the next G7, he would do it because he's afraid of Putin. And we got to be a little tougher with this guy. I don't give a damn about competing town halls.
Matt, let me ask you, CNN reported there was a fourth branch to the Mueller investigation, one that I had never seen reported prior, this foreign contribution investigation, apparently, of the Egyptian dictator Sisi, S-I-S-S-I, I believe his name.
S-I-S-I, yeah, right, that's right.
Matt, have you read any of that reporting at CNN? And what think you? No charges, apparently, no findings of criminality, but one must suspect that's because they've never thoroughly investigated Trump's finances. But Trump apparently, accused of self-dealing late in the race? What was your take on that story, Matt?
Right. And I think it is consistent with the whole pattern. And just hear me out. Rosenstein and Mueller took a dive. They both initially agreed that they weren't going to investigate his financial ties to Russia. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. Russia funded him. Trump's son said he funded him, and they sneakily didn't do it. They didn't subpoena Trump to give a deposition the way Clinton had been subpoenaed, and yet, and they didn't tell the FBI. If they told the FBI, they would have done it. Now, Sisi and right now the Saudi Arabians, anybody with money, Trump will play. He'll dance with them. Anybody with money and betray our interests. And the truth of the matter is that it's three parts. It's Russia, Saudi Arabia, Egypt. My God, is a minor player in all this. It's a minor player, but Trump is on the take. Trump is on the take. Somebody has got to say that. And when you're on the take, you take money, you got to perform. And how do you perform? In Russia, you try to break up NATO for them. You betray Ukraine, Turkey, you betray the Kurds. In Egypt, he's capable of taking the money and not knowing what to do because he doesn't know anything about Egypt, okay? Which side to be on, because they're all bad news. But the truth of the matter is that right now, that none of that surprises me. But what surprises me is it's not just Barr. Rosenstein and Mueller took a dive. They are bad guys. Both of them are bad guys.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. That's my pal, attorney Matt Flynn, sitting in as a guest devil today. Dominic Eddy, somewhere in the Florida Keys, something like that, having a much inferior time to the time we're having right here on the radio, because where would you rather be? Probably not in the Keys with COVID. So have a good time with Crudy and Matt Flynn, and your call's welcome here. Matt, before we turn to the callers, and we will absolutely go there next, but Matt, my question, damn it, let's go to the callers now. I forgot my question. Andy from Beaver Dam, you're first. Say hi to Matt Flynn.
Well, hey, Matt. I'm glad to hear your voice always. And I don't really think these two competing town halls are really going to make any difference, because I think most people have already decided who they're going to vote for, and they may go to NBC out of curiosity. But we've heard that dude going on 4 years, and who wants to hear any more? If you really look at it, I think it's just it was of course Trump's agreeing to go on NBC to try to upstage Joe, whatever, have at it, but it's not going to do any good. I think everybody now has pretty well got his number, and so it doesn't really it won't, the way it plays out, it's all about the vote, and Andy got 19.
Andy, sorry to interrupt, but I want to ask you about your neighbors or your friends that might be of the Republican or the Trumpster persuasion up there in Dodge County. Are you seeing any Trump fatigue amongst your peer group, your friends, your pals from the bar, at work, wherever you meet people in a pandemic, Andy? What are they telling you about politics in your neck of the woods?
Well, I tell you, I consider Dodge County the fifth wow county, and maybe even Jefferson County. I think these guys are all in with Trump. I mean, just but I haven't really had any contact. I do have friends that are Republicans, but I haven't really broached the subject with them on it. But I don't know what the psyche is up here, but people just, man, oh man, they're in love with that dude, and I don't understand why. But us three, we're definitely progressives and on with Joe and everything, and we just I don't know, but it'll be interesting to see if Tom Polowitz can do anything with Fitzy.
Well, Fitzy deserves to get his ass handed to him. Obviously, that district. Appreciate your call, Andy from Beaver Dam. Tom Pelzowitz, the Democratic candidate, the superior candidate, in my opinion, Matt Flynn. Pelzowitz running against Fitzy. And I know that district is stacked fairly blue. Look at Sensenbrenner, held that district 42 years. But I'm telling you, if it's ever going to happen, Matt, this is the year. And if well, we're out of time here, but I think it could be a blue wave. And I want to ask you, how bad could it get when Putin's puppet, Donald Trump, loses handily to Joe Biden? Come back, more Devils. Trudy and Matt Flynn.
I want you to get busy. You ready now? 1, 2, 3, get loose now.
The number of the day I present to you. The number of the day is 2.
Always 2 there are. No more, no less.
Max Inc. Radio, this is Rocker. Hey, Jimmy, I've been invited to the White House, and he wants me to bring some of that guacamole. What if he double dips, Jimmy?
Double Dip with Max Inc. on Devil Radio 92.7 FM. In-depth interviews, new music, and plenty of throwbacks. Saturday, 6 p.m.
Right back to the beginning, Rocker.
Yeah, that's cool. No.
Stream the Devils and progressive news and talk 24/7 at the Devil's Advocates Radio Network, Wisconsin. That's DARNWI.com. That's DARNWI.com.
The Lazy Oaf Lounge is Madison's East Side place for friends and family. Whether it's for lunch or dinner, you know you're in for a tasty treat. Awesome apps, burgers, pizza, and the best fish fry in Madison. And join us to cheer on the green and gold with 50-cent wings, beer bucket specials, and free Jell-O shots with every Green Bay touchdown. Plenty of TVs inside or out on the patio. The Lazy Oaf Lounge, 1617 North Stoughton Road, and online at lazyoaflounge.com.
Madison, you say what? Each weeknight from 5 to 6 and Saturdays noon to 2. Don't miss out on a single day of the Earl Ingram Show right here on Devil Radio 92.7 FM, 1580 AM.
Josh Hall, the candidate for Wisconsin Attorney General. Do you think voter ID had a suppressive effect, not on 100 voters, but on thousands of voters and perhaps the election to Donald Trump?
This is an issue that came up at our trial. First of all, I should thank you guys because we actually introduced into evidence the recording of you interviewing Dale Schultz, who was talking about the passage of the voter ID law. That was one of our pieces of evidence.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling devil's advocates.
Stay informed with progressive news and talk on Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, Dane County's choice for essential radio.
Grass-fed, locally raised, 100% organic. Tom and Cruz are the devil's advocates.
Drive this car.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, a Thursday night dueling town hall. Joe Biden against Donald Trump. I got my pal Matt Flynn filling in for Dominic. Matt, appreciate you sticking around. And I got to ask you, I know, and you've made yourself pretty clear on the airwaves, Matt, you think that Donald Trump is Putin's puppet. Well, when Putin's puppet loses, and I think both you and I think there's a very strong probability that Joe Biden's going to blue wave this guy's ass. And then what, Matt? What kind of destruction will Donald Trump do? What is he capable of doing? And what should the Democrats be prepared for once Joe Biden wins, knock on wood?
Right. Well, November 4th, when he wakes up and realizes Biden won, he'll try to fight and he'll bring lawsuits. It's not going to do any good. That he has from November 4 to January 20. That's a long time. That's a long time.
It'll be a lifetime.
2.5 months. It's 2.5 months. Let's go down the list of improbables. Does he launch a nuclear weapon? No. For one thing, I don't think he has the guts. And the second thing is that I don't think the Joint Chiefs of Staff and the Secretary of Defense go along. Number two, he pardons all his cabinet, every crook in his cabinet, including Barr and Pompeo. He pardons his entire family, his kids, all criminals, pardons them all. Number three, I think what he does is, how does he pardon himself? Now, first of all, if he pardons himself, even a Republican Supreme Court's not going to go along with that. That's a lot of BS.
Oh, Coney Barrett might, but please continue, man.
Only if she needed it to get on. Once she's on, she'll be fine. She's not going to go along with that. Also, he can't pardon himself from New York crimes. And they have a very tough attorney general and DA out there, and they are going to roast his carcass. So what does he do? He could resign and have Pence pardon him, assuming Pence did it. Pence could renege because Pence is a weasel and wants to get nominated in 24. And I'm just going through the possibilities. The other thing he could do is make a lot of deals and try to get as much money as he can, which will be looked at by a Democratic attorney general. But number five, he can do a lot of things regulatorily and by executive order that can cause a lot of trouble in 2.5 months. Yes, Biden can undo some of that stuff, but there is precedent. In Kentucky, you remember this last spring, the Democrat won. The Republican was a very bad guy. He started to pardon vicious, sadistic murderers, home invaders who went in and raped and murdered people. He would pardon them just to get back at the electorate and not pardon the people who informed on them and got sentences also. If you have somebody in there who is a vandal, and I mean that, as a vandal who wants to hurt the United States, there are ways to do it. But we do have a federal judiciary, and we do have an orderly succession once Biden wins the race. Now, let me tell you one final thing. I'm not taking anything for granted on Biden winning the race. I'd like to think that there's a blue wave, but incumbents are hard to beat. They're hard to beat. And this guy has every dirty voter suppression trick in the book. So everybody listening out there, vote let's get going. Vote blue no matter who. I'm riding with Biden. I don't give a damn who you cared about in the primary. This is all out war. We got to vote.
Okay, Matt. A couple of thoughts. First and foremost, they are throwing the kitchen sink at Biden, and especially through Hunter Biden. And we got Rojo dropping another. And I described this yesterday on the airwaves, Matt, as a pumpkin spice nothing burger. I mean, what October surprise here? Very likely that these are fraudulent emails and in fact might be Russian propaganda props. And we got Rojo out there rolling it out, him and Rudy Giuliani. Rojo has turned himself half into Joe McCarthy. He's just not very good at it, Matt.
Right, yeah. My name is Ron Johnson. I come from Wisconsin. I work from Moscow there. This guy better get pardoned himself, okay? This guy better get pardoned himself because he is toast. They put out this fake baloney. And think that this is going to go somewhere. It's not going to go anywhere. There were no meetings. Biden was not part of any of that. These are the commie Ruskies. It was not Ukraine are bad. Ukraine used to be part of Poland. You knew that a long time ago. Ukraine is good. The commie Ruskies are bad. My name is Ron Johnson. Wants Ukraine to be bad. The commie Ruskies good. They asked Ron Johnson, Rojo, do you trust the CIA and the FBI? He said no. He trusts the KGB and Putin. That's who he trusts. That's a communist thing. We got to get him out. We got to get Trump out, and no one's going to fall for this baloney. Trump is getting out. He has betrayed the United States.
Sort of a digression, but do you think Ron Johnson could ever show his face again on the campaign trail? Do you think he will indeed keep his word and not run for re-election in 22?
He can't show his face in Denny's in Green Bay. If he showed his face in Denny's in Green Bay, they'd chase him out. No, he can't run for anything. First of all, no, he's not going to keep his word. Are you kidding me? No, I mean, that's a lot of baloney. People say that and then they run forever. Oh, I'm not going to run again. But if he runs again for the Senate after saying he doesn't trust the FBI and the CIA and doing this, no, he's toast. I've heard he may want to run for governor. He's not running for governor. He wouldn't know how to run for governor. He doesn't do any work. The guy isn't a working man. The guy likes to hide out in the Senate and grin. That's what he likes to do. You can't do that as governor. I'd like to see Evers step it up. That's a separate question, okay? That's a separate question. Our governor didn't get kidnapped because no one heard about him. That's why he didn't get kidnapped. So we need a little more action here. But Ron Johnson is bad news, and we got to get him out of office.
Tony Evers, safely anonymous as the governor of the great state of Wisconsin. That's Matt Flynn. He's not anonymous. Got another fine guest. He is Gold Star father, Khizr Khan. He joins us, the Devil's Advocates, right here. You're listening to Devil Radio 92.7 FM. And Khizr coming as a Joe Biden surrogate. We appreciate him doing so. Stick around. More Devils. Matt Flynn, Crudy, and you on the phones as well.
No puppet. No puppet. There's nobody that understands the horror of nuclear better than me.
Okay, boomer.
And unlike the legislative Republicans, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM are working through the pandemic to keep you informed. Streaming 24/7 at DARNWI.com.
Lando Commando at Knucklehead CBD and Vape, State Street's one-stop shop for all your CBD and vape needs. Check out the website, knuckleheadcbd.com, for an in-store menu and growing online catalog. Shop is open 10 a.m., 8 p.m. every day. New delivery options available. Knucklehead CBD and Vape, safest place in Madison, high above State Street.
Hi, I'm Anton Capella. As Chief Technology Officer at Five Nines, it's my job to make sure your network is up 99.999% of the time. Technology is constantly evolving, and keeping your business up to date in an ever-changing environment can be a hassle. At Five Nines, we're here to help. Five Nines is more than just our name. It's the level of service you can expect. Better IT gives your business a competitive advantage. Learn how Five Nines can help at fivenines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
Hi, everybody. This is Santita Jackson of the Santita Jackson Show. Every Friday morning at 7 o'clock, let's fix our society by fixing ourselves with the Love Doc, Dr. Brenda Wade on the Santita Jackson Show on 92.7.
I'm Ed Donahue with an AP News Minute. President Trump says help from above is needed to fight the coronavirus.
It's a tricky thing. It's dust. It's a little tricky thing. Masks, no masks, everything. You can do all you want, but you still need help from the boss.
Campaigning in North Carolina, the president criticized Dr. Anthony Fauci.
And he said, do not wear a mask. Do not wear a mask under any circumstances. Don't wear a mask. Don't, right? So we don't wear a mask. Then they say, oh, wear a mask. I never saw it. Do you ever see any conflicts? But he's a nice guy, so I keep him around.
The White House has been talking about herd immunity to push to reopen schools and businesses. Dr. Fauci says no.
There will be so many people in the community that you can't shelter, that you can't protect, who are going to get sick and get serious consequences. So this idea that we have the power
I think we'll need
the vulnerable is total nonsense.
Fauci was on ABC's Good Morning America. I'm Ed Donahue.
T-Mobile for Business knows saving time and money is important for your business. That's why we're introducing Microsoft 365 on us, now included in our best business plans. With Office apps, Microsoft Teams, cloud storage, and more, Microsoft 365 on us gives you the tools you need to run your business. Stop by a T-Mobile store today. Qualifying plan required. Contactless to activate. 1 license per line, max 2 per account. Third-party terms apply. See T-Mobile.com for plan details.
Walgreens has always been there to help make your healthcare easier. From making sure you have the prescriptions you need to answering any questions you have about them. Now, the question is whether you have the right Medicare plan. And we're here to help make that easier too. Walgreens can save you money and peace of mind with copays as low as $0. Visit walgreens.com/Medicare today to see how. Walgreens. We make Medicare easy. $0 copay on Tier 1 generic drugs when enrolled in a plan with Walgreens as a preferred pharmacy.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines for Thursday, October 15th. Groups appeal lawsuit over Wisconsin absentee ballots to U.S. Supreme Court. Groups seeking to allow late arriving absentee ballots to be counted in Wisconsin took their case Tuesday to the U.S. Supreme Court. The push came a week after an appeals court determined that none of Wisconsin's voting laws should be changed because of the coronavirus pandemic. That means absentee ballots will be counted only if they arrive in municipal clerks' offices by Election Day at 8 p.m. Grothman ranked #1 Trump loyalist in Congress. U.S. Representative Glenn Grothman is more loyal to President Donald Trump than any other member of Congress, according to a Trump loyalty index created by the online news outlet Axios. According to the index, Grothman votes with Trump 94% of the time and never once made a statement critical of the president in a number of high-profile scandals. You're listening to Devil Radio.
The Devil's Advocates. Never personal, only politics.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Happy Thursday to us all. And Matt, we are joined right now live via phone by a very special guest. He is Khizr Khan. He is a Gold Star family, Gold Star father, and I believe he's here on behalf of the Joe Biden campaign. Mr. Khan, welcome back to the Devil's Advocates. You were on our show 4 years ago, and I feel quite confident. I mispronounced your name then. I hope I'm closer now, sir.
No, you were right then, and you're correct now. And I'm so honored to be speaking with you and with your audience again.
Now, before we get started and you talk about Joe Biden, can you tell us a little bit about your son, sir?
Well, he was a patriot who loved his country. I can sum it up in one article that he wrote, and he was true to his words. And the title of that article was "Democracy Requires Vigilance and Sacrifice." And that was true. That was his life, and to the last breath that he took. And we miss him, and we love him. And we pay honor to all of our men and women serving in their families. We pay our tribute to our veterans, our paralyzed veterans, for their service, for their family service. And remembering Humayun is through our gratitude to the families that sit in anguish of our men and women serving in uniform.
Mr. Khan, I was at the DNC in Philadelphia in 2016. I still remember your speech, sir. And it wasn't long thereafter that the candidate who became Donald Trump, the president, began attacking you and attacking effectively your son's patriotism. And we now have heard from reporting, sir, that he referred perhaps gravesite at Arlington National Cemetery to the fallen military as suckers and losers. Now, Mr. Khan, I know you weren't going to vote for Donald Trump, but this newest reporting, how did that make you feel?
Well, we were disheartened. We had hoped that after the election, Donald Trump will rise to the occasion, would rise and respect the office that he is occupying, but he disappointed not only us, but the entire nation. He had nothing to say when our adversaries, when Russia announced bounties to harm our men and women in uniform. He had nothing to say, but he had plenty to say. And the reason for that is that he has no comprehension of sacrifice and service to the nation. He was given opportunity to serve 5 times, 5 deferments, and he did not serve. As George Washington has said, that there are 2 qualifications for every American citizen. One is to be willing to serve, and the second is to pay taxes. And Donald Trump fails on both accounts. So we were very disturbed when he said the words that I don't wish to repeat, but the nation knows that he holds our men and women serving that have sacrificed all that they had in defense of this country, in defense of American values. We were very disturbed.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. We've got Gold Star father Khizr Khan live via phone. Mr. Khan, let's contrast that with Joe Biden when he describes his now departed son, Beau Biden, in Beau's service. The contrast between these two men, it's very stark.
Yes, Joe Biden is a military parent. He knows what it takes to send loved one harm's way, the anguish, the last hug that you receive when your loved one departs to serve this nation. Donald Trump has no understanding of that moment. Thousands of Americans fully realize when they send their loved ones harm's way, that last hug at the moment of saying goodbye to their loved ones, what it means. That is the difference. That is one of the difference. And I must add, Wisconsin is very dear to me. Wisconsin is very important to this coming election. I must express through your program my condolences to 1,400 deaths and 150,000 Wisconsinites infected of this pandemic, and there is no serious plan or suggestion how to manage this pandemic by Donald Trump. On the other hand, America wants a wiser head and a steadier hand in the White House so that we can deal with this pandemic. And total in the nation, 217,000 deaths. 35 states showed the increment in the virus infection. And this president, this reckless president, has no plan, mute Republican enablers have no plan to deal with the pandemic and the unemployment that this pandemic has caused, the difficulty and the school closing that this pandemic has caused. It's sad, but I wish to say one sentence that every Wisconsinite must adhere to. Please take this virus seriously. Stay safe. Help stop the spread virus. This president has no plan, offers no suggestion, but I urge every Wisconsinite to please take it seriously and let's make sure that we help stop this spread and we get out and we vote and be safe. This election is going to make the difference in the history of our country, and Wisconsinites are going to make the difference. So get out and vote. Don't listen to these polls up and down. Make sure that we fulfill our obligation as citizens to vote and ask our families, our friends to vote and vote early. And the change is on the horizon. If I may dare to say, I may be out of place in saying this, I have seen the sun rise, and sun is about to rise as long as we get out and we vote and we do our civic duty, our duty of our citizenship.
Gold Star Father Khizr Khan for a few more minutes with us here on the Devil's Advocates. Sir, Donald Trump showed his true colors, I think, early on. Muslim bans, even as a candidate, he talked about murderers and rapists, the immigrants. Now, here in the state of Wisconsin, we've seen protests against police's violent shootings of unarmed black men and others, and there have been very specific protests. Some have devolved into worse than a protest, but there's also been vigilante violence here, sir. And Donald Trump has effectively embraced the vigilantism of Kyle Rittenhouse, the man that effectively murdered two here in Kenosha, Wisconsin. Above and beyond that, at the only presidential debate so far, given the opportunity to denounce white nationalism, Donald Trump said something to the effect, Proud Boys, stand back and stand by. Mr. Khan, I know you knew Trump's true colors for a long time, but should the American people, all of us, recognize by now there's no way for us to come together if the president of the United States is a racist?
I agree with you, your observation. I say this, I have lived under authoritarians prior to immigrating to this beautiful country, which has uplifted me in human dignity, my family. I have lived under dictatorships. These are the three things these dictators and authoritarians do, and I want your audience to hear it and connect the dots. Very first thing, I want my own judges. Media is enemy of the people. Opposition has no place in my rule, in my government. These are the three qualifications unanimously throughout the country of the authoritarians and dictators. In sowing hate and division, Donald Trump is playing in the hands of our adversaries. He is doing what they want to be done in our blessed nation, in our blessed country. Division, hate, racism, violence, and we must act as patriotic citizens. We must act to end this, and the only way for a democratic American is to vote, and vote with such a majority that this hate and division that Donald Trump is sowing is defeated.
Mr. Khan, I sometimes ask my show partner, Dominic, how bad could it be? You know, what's the worst that could happen? If Donald Trump is reelected, sir, what do you think the worst thing that could happen would be?
Well, our democracy is online, meaning that we will not have the way we have had for 230 years. Our Constitution, our institutions of our checks and balances, our system of elections and justice is online. We will not have the way we have enjoyed, we have had, and we have been beacon of hope for the rest of the world. We have taught these human dignities that are enshrined in our Constitution to the rest of the world. It is all online because he will not stop anything less than total destruction of our system of government, of our democracy, of our rule of law. I remain concerned, but I am optimistic because I know that America realizes what is at stake. America, I have traveled throughout the country and I have shaken hands and I've answered these questions that you asked. And I see the hopefulness among Americans, concern in their hearts, in their handshakes, in their eyes. When I share these concerns with them and they tell me that they are going to be the first one to get out and vote for better leadership, vote for a wiser head and a steadier hand in the White House, and for our Senate, for our Congress to make sure that America's democracy, America's rule of law, America's belief in its institution, all are restored.
Mr. Khan, I can give you about 1 minute. Joe Biden, I know you support him. What does Build Back Better look like to you, sir?
Sir, in one sentence, it uplifts all of us. It reflects the true meaning of America. It is a reflection of what America is all about, a shot at getting life better, a shot not only just for the millionaires and billionaires, but for ordinary persons where I stand and the rest of America stands. Instead of going into detail of Build Back Better, the spirit that it encompasses is the soul of America, meaning that we all have a chance to make our lives better. We have a shot at improving our livelihood, getting back to being good neighbors to one another. It encompasses all of us, not only just the Democrats or Republicans, but all of us, and it gives us an opportunity to.
Mr. Khan, thank you so much. More Devil's Advocates. We'll be right back.
Trump knows Wisconsin is an important swing state, and every vote for Scott Fitzgerald is a vote for Donald Trump. We can defeat him. We can defeat them. Vote Tom for Wisconsin on November 3rd. I'm Tom Palzowitz, and I approve this message.
I'm Rocker, and this is my vodka, distilled right here in Madison, made from corn and gluten-free. Try Rocker Vodka at Sal's Dark Horse on Livingston or Sugar River Pizza in Verona. Find Rocker Vodka at Star Liquor, Woodman's, Willie Street Co-op, Vic Pierce, Steve's Liquor, Total Wine, Miller & Sons, and more at rockervodka.com.
Dave from Community PC here. Now more than ever, we're relying on our computers to stay connected with family and friends. Looking for that perfect holiday gift for a family member who struggles with keeping everything up to date? Every day, more and more people are discovering the peace of mind that comes from a Tech Protect plan from Community PC. And it makes the perfect gift for anyone you need to stay connected with. Check out commpc.com to learn more. That's commpc.com. Community PC. We know what makes computers happy.
Whiz Cannabis Radio is brought to you by Herbal Aspect, Madison's #1 CBD brand. You can catch the show live on our social channels. Just search for Whiz Cannabis Radio. Herbal Aspect is a local Black-owned small business. For more information, go to herbalaspect.com.
Senator Ron Johnson talking about staying out of bars. How does that pair with your thought that schools should reopen in the fall? You got a room full of school students or a room full of bar patrons. What's the difference?
Because schools, students, it's rare, very rare to have them have a very serious medical effect from COVID.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 2 to 5 p.m.
You shouldn't have older school teachers or school teachers with some of the comorbidities.
From Wisconsin Dells to Dousman, WTTN 1580 AM is essential radio to get you through the pandemic.
Save the $2 on tomorrow's paper. Listen to the Devil's Advocates today.
2 tickets to paradise. Tom didn't take me with. But I gotta.
I'm referring to the debates tonight. You got 2 tickets to paradise.
Oh,
either way, you're going to win.
Oh, you got a ticket to paradise right now? Because I got a guest co-devil. He is Matt Flynn. He's sticking around. Thanks, Matt. I want to thank our most recent guest as well, a fine one, Gold Star father, Khizr Khan. And Matt, I guarantee I mispronounced his name 4 years ago. Because I often get the names wrong. But
Genghis Khan, or what'd you call him?
Khizr. I think it was.
Got it. I got it. Hey, this is a classy operation. Come on.
So I try, man. I try really hard. And this time I think I got it right. But buddy, I know people like Mr. Khan, they made up their minds long ago about this president. I mean, it's been the longest 4 years of my freaking life. There was never a doubt in my mind. Nothing Donald Trump has done during his presidency has won me over, or really anyone I've met. I haven't met too many people that were like, oh, I hate Trump. But boy, that governance, it's been so good, he's won me over. I mean, that's a rare conversation I've had. If you like the tax cuts, more than that, like some of the Supreme Court justices he's jammed through, and, the other judicial appointments, Matt. But nobody has ever told me what a fine leader of government that Donald Trump is. No one I believe. No one that's actually read a newspaper in the last 4 years. Your thoughts?
No, yeah. Look, the polls all show, Crute, 96% of the people have made up their minds. 96%. With Hillary and Trump at this time, and even later, it was in the 80s. 96%. And Biden's ahead. So 96%. Those other 4, sometimes they don't vote. Sometimes they're confused. Who knows? I mean, who knows? There's a third-party candidate, blah, blah, blah.
We had her on the other day, Jo Jorgensen.
Oh, God.
I would have expected more. I was really underwhelmed with the interview.
Now, I was really looking for more about that, too.
I mean, Gary Johnson, former governor, right? The last time around, it was What is Aleppo, Gary Johnson. And we met him, Dom emceed a libertarian event. And I got to meet Gary Johnson. Seemed like, not my kind of guy, but a decent guy.
Yeah.
This Jo, she was a different sort.
Well, you could have had Kanye West. You could have had Kanye West. That came close.
I would probably prefer Kanye West. I'm just telling.
We might have had more points of commonality as well.
Man, I was really unimpressed by the interview, but I continue to interrupt. You try again, or we can go to the phones.
Yeah. Well, go to the phone, but 96%. Nothing's changed. I mean, nothing's changed, and he's ahead in the polls. So let's just keep it that way.
Well, let's keep it that way. Matt Flynn says, vote for Joe, blue no matter who. I don't always like that line, but I do like when people call at 844-967-2789. Gary from Madison, say hi to my pal, Matt Flynn.
Hi, Matt. I talked to you before.
Hey, Gary.
Quick one. Hi, how are you? Hey, Matt, I listened to Biden's speeches, but here's my critique of him. He repeats basically the news in the last 24 to 36 hours. That doesn't make sense to me. He needs to come out with a message. I sent Tom Perez letters. He can't just repeat what's on the news. We know what's on the news if you follow news. So Biden has to come out with some kind of message. I don't care what it is, but he has to be something more
than just repeat what's on the.
Well, Gary, let me play devil's advocate for just a moment. What's on the news almost every day is the declining economy and the increasing number of coronavirus people affected by this pandemic. And that is the news each and every day. I don't hear him out there commenting on every legal case that comes down the pipe. You know, obviously they've asked him about Supreme Court picks, but Joe Biden isn't really going to get in the weeds on policy because Donald Trump doesn't have a policy. Donald Trump was asked directly, what's your term 2 plan? Many great things. There's no policy there. Why would Joe Biden put out policy to be criticized when this is a referendum on Donald Trump, Gary?
I agree. The only thing I find Biden does do policy on his ads, and he grinds it down too much. People are not interested. You will not hear Trump talk about education or health care. He's a rah, rah, rah cheerleader. But I hear Biden, he can put you to sleep. He goes too deep into this stuff. He should just talk more general. That's all. Just be more general, and it's just. And I don't know what to tell him to do, but he needs new speechwriters.
Well, Gary, they don't listen to us anyways. Appreciate your call. Thank you for listening. 844-967-2789. Want to sneak a couple more in here. Mark from Sac, say hi to your pal Matt Flynn.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Matt. How you doing today? I was talking to you yesterday.
Good. Yeah, an Earl show.
And you're on with Earl.
Yeah.
He's the star of stage, screen, and radio, that Matt Flynn.
Yeah, I'd rather have Sleepy Joe and be able to go to sleep and be confident that I'm going to actually have a country in the morning rather than Donald Trump, who God only knows what the heck he's going to do in the next 24 hours. You know, launch a war against Iran or against Canada or against Mexico because the mood strikes him. I mean, here we have north of 218,000 people. I think it's far more than that. I think some of the Republican states are underreporting the deaths of people that have died of COVID or complications due to COVID than is actually being reported. And Trump has no plan except to have more Americans die. And I think that Joe Biden needs to hammer on that. As far as the debate goes tonight, it might be entertaining to watch Donald Trump get skewered by actual people asking him questions, as in the last time, if they actually allow that, because
you going to watch it, Mark?
Which Trump off?
You got to pick a town hall right now, my friend. Which one you watching?
I don't know. I might put on Game of Thrones. It's just too painful to watch Donald Trump and realize that he's actually our president and that how this guy could have actually been elected and the damage he's done to our country.
Well, Mark, if we're not careful, he could get reelected. So let's not let that happen. Matt Flynn, going to need you to stick around a little bit longer if you're okay with that, my friend.
I'm all over that.
My guest, sidekick, co-devil advocate of this Thursday afternoon. And tonight, of course, dueling town halls. Trump and Joe Biden. And from here forward, if you're calling, I gotta ask you, which one you watching, and get your impressions and maybe make it a drinking game as well. Come back with us another hour of Matt Flynn on the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. You are listening right now.
Hey, well, I don't think science knows, actually.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier.
Suburban women, will you please like me?
Will you shut up, man?
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Are you a small business owner or professional that would like to be featured in your own weekly Ask the Expert radio segment or show on Devil Radio? Let us help you in your business team with our broadcast professionals to create the right show or segment, setting you apart as the go-to professional and as an expert in your field. All shows and sponsored segments are podcasted. It will be professional broadcast quality. Packages from $395. Call Devil Radio today at 608-819-TALK.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus and W224EG 92.7 FM Madison. Always streaming at Talk 92.7 FM.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. In North Carolina, President Trump says his opponent, Joe Biden, is corrupt.
I'll tell you what, he really is. He's a corrupt politician. Just remember it. And I'm going to say it more and more. And Facebook and all can try and shut us down. But you know what? Everybody knows it.
North Carolina is a key battleground state. The president will have a town hall meeting from Miami tonight on NBC. Joe Biden will be on at the same time from Philadelphia on ABC. President Trump added new material to his campaign speeches. The AP Sagar Magani reports it's the president's son.
My Baron. My tall Baron. He's very tall.
For a second time since the First Lady announced the couple's 14-year-old son tested positive for the coronavirus, the president has mentioned him in a rally.
He recovered like so fast. I said, wait a minute, how long did that take?
Though Mrs. Trump has fiercely guarded Barron's privacy, the president's now using his son's recovery to boost his argument that kids Barron's age get better faster and schools should fully reopen. Sagar Magani, Washington.
Part of the White House argument for that is herd immunity. Dr. Anthony Fauci says that's nonsense.
There will be so many people in the community that you can't shelter, that you can't protect, who are going to get sick.
Fauci was on ABC's Good Morning America. The man who was supposed to host tonight's presidential debate, Steve Scully, has been suspended indefinitely by C-SPAN after admitting he lied about his Twitter feed being hacked when confronted about a questionable exchange with former Trump aide Anthony Scaramucci. The number of people filing for unemployment last week went up. It was 898,000. YouTube is following the lead of Twitter and Facebook, saying it's taking more steps to limit QAnon and other baseless conspiracy theories that can lead to real-world violence. An eighth person is now charged in a foiled scheme to storm the Michigan State Capitol building. This is AP News.
T-Mobile for Business knows saving time and money is important for your business. That's why we're introducing Microsoft 365 on us, now included in our best business plans. With Office apps, Microsoft Teams, cloud storage, and more, Microsoft 365 on us gives you the tools you need to run your business. Stop by a T-Mobile store today. Qualifying plan required. Contactless to activate. 1 license per line, max 2 per account. Third-party terms apply. See T-Mobile.com for plan details.
Walgreens has always been there to help make your healthcare easier. From making sure you have the prescriptions you need to answering any questions you have about them. Now, the question is whether you have the right Medicare plan. And we're here to help make that easier too. Walgreens can save you money and peace of mind with copays as low as $0. Visit walgreens.com/Medicare today to see how. Walgreens. We make Medicare easy. $0 copay on Tier 1 generic drugs when enrolled in a plan with Walgreens as a preferred pharmacy.
Hey, Solidarity Realty here. It's time for another election. Time for your voice to be heard. By now, you probably have a good idea of which presidential candidate you are voting for, or at least we hope you do. While picking a president is important, we wanted to remind you that down ballot is just as important. Research your local candidates, make sure they know who you are and what you stand for, because our community will only thrive if everyone has a seat at the table.
Hola, Wisconsin. Voces de la Frontera Action has spent decades organizing to advance racial and immigrant justice, workers' rights, and education for all. Many of you have joined our historic Day Without Latinx and Immigrants mass strikes to beat back corporate policies that try to divide our communities and separate families. As a battleground state in 2020, your vote matters. We must unite to vote out Trump and his far-right administration that promote racism and violence while hoarding the wealth for the rich. The pandemic has heightened the urgency for action access to healthcare, investment, and COVID-19 protections for workers, small business owners, and schools. That is why we must vote for Joe Biden. Join Voces de la Frontera Action by visiting vdlfa.org or calling 414-643-1620. And don't forget, early voting starts October 20th. Onwards to victory. Sí se puede.
Paid for by Voces de la Frontera Action, independent of any candidate or candidate committee. Stream the Devils and progressive news and talk 24/7 at the Devil's Advocates Radio Network, Wisconsin. That's DARNWI.com. That's DARNWI.com.
Whiz Cannabis Radio is brought to you by Herbal Aspect, Madison's #1 CBD brand. You can catch the show live on our social channels. Just search for Whiz Cannabis Radio. Herbal Aspect is a local, black-owned small business. For more information, go to herbalaspect.com.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines for Thursday, October 15th. Wisconsin judge blocks governor's order limiting capacity. The Wisconsin Tavern League is suing Governor Tony Evers' administration over the latest COVID-19 order, which limits restaurants and bars to 25% capacity amid the pandemic. On Wednesday, a Sawyer County judge blocked the enforcement of the capacity limits. Wauwatosa residents decry militarized occupation of their community. This follows from the decision by District Attorney John Chisholm not to charge the Wauwatosa officer who shot 17-year-old Alvin Cole in February, and protesters have been met by a stiff pushback from local authorities. Windy day throughout the area today, high of 50 degrees, low of 34 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. 3, 2, 1. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Kroot.
Welcome back to the Thursday dueling debate night edition of the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic at a destination wedding down south, but I got Matt Flynn, attorney Matt Flynn, twice elected Democratic Party of Wisconsin Chair Matt Flynn. Although I don't know if I'd brag about that, Matt. But I do appreciate you coming on the air. And of course, the most important title I could give you, friend of the Devil's Advocates.
Good to be here. This is a great show. It's a great show. It's really the only progressive radio in the whole state. The only progressive radio in the whole state. And I'm very glad to be on here.
Well, Matt, before I forget to mention it, a little show note here on Devil Radio 92.7. Stick around after this fine show, the Earl Ingram Show with Valerie Jarrett from the Obama administration. Earl's got a good get on the show, and my understanding, working for James Clyburn tomorrow on Earl's show.
Earl has a lot of friends, a lot of contacts. It's a great show, and it's a must listen to. 5 p.m. The Earl Ingram Show. He's invited me on it a few times, but I'm not Valerie Jarrett and Jim Clyburn. He's got some famous guests coming up. One of them today at 5 p.m.
He certainly does. And Jim Santelle, former U.S. attorney, going to be my guest co-host in the 4 o'clock happy hour today. But until then, we got Matt Flynn, and we got you on the phones as well. Dial them up. 844-967-2789. Going there now. Chris from Sun Prairie. Chris, say hi to Matt. Welcome back.
Hi, Matt. How you doing? Yeah, I'm calling. I'm saying right off, I am not watching Trump. I would really encourage everyone to deprive that man of ratings because that's what feeds his big ego. So that's what I have to say about that. But I did want to mention something else, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
I have friends at the Madison Labor Temple, which is 1602 South Park Street. They're there right now giving away free Biden-Harris signs. They'll be there from 3 to 6 today, 3 to 6 tomorrow, and 12 to 6 on Saturday. And they even have the I don't know if you've seen this one, but I love this one. I have one on my lawn. It says every vote counts, and has the big fish that's made up of all the little fish. And then it has the little red fish with the Trumpy hair, and the big fish are getting ready to eat it.
Yeah, I've seen that one. That one I like. I also like the BYEDON Biden sign. But Chris, does that mean you'll watch the Joe Biden town hall tonight?
I will. I'm kind of a political junkie, so I like to know what's going on. So yeah, I'll watch it tonight. I've already voted, though. My vote's in. That's locked in. I'm supporting Joe Biden and every single Democrat up and down the ticket. We got to get these people out.
Chris, truer words never spoken. Appreciate your call. Thanks for listening. We'll talk soon on the airwaves, I suspect. 844-967-2789. Steve from Madison, say hi to my pal Matt Flynn.
Hey, Matt.
Steve?
You're on the ball today there, Matt. I agree with you. Tony Evers should be calling these Republicans out every day that they don't have a backbone. If they want to stop his actions, they should come down here and vote on it and quit slinking around in the courts. And also about I really worry about what will happen in those 78 days after Trump loses, what kind of mischief. I mean, when Biden and his crew go in there, it's going to be a mess. I can't see much of a transition at all.
No, I mean,
it's not going to be a honeymoon.
No, there's going to be, Biden's a gentleman. Trump is not. And all I hope is he doesn't start a war, doesn't steal a lot more money. I'd like to see him not pardon a lot of people, but I know he will. And I don't want to see him issuing executive orders that really snarl up the government and makes it difficult for Biden to unravel it in any kind of decent amount of time.
Real quick, just to address something that our recent caller, Steve, said, and thanks for listening, Steve. Republicans spent nearly $2 million in taxpayer money to fight the election lawsuits. Patrick Marley at the Journal-Sentinel want to throw this one out there for the audience's consideration and yours, Matt. Taxpayers spent nearly $2 million this year on lawyers hired by the Republican legislators to fight election lawsuits, including ones aimed at making voting easier during the coronavirus pandemic. In addition, Matt, taxpayers have spent more than $400,000 on attorneys hired by Republicans to fight parts of Democratic Governor Tony Evers' COVID-19 response plan. So we're up to $2.4 million. Let me read on. The costs are sure to climb because both legal battles are ongoing, and most attorneys are being paid $500 an hour. Matt, you are an attorney. That's a pretty good wage. That's like senior partner kind of money, is it not?
These people haven't missed a lot of meals. These people have not missed a lot of meals. And I'll tell you a couple of other things. A lot of this money is not only bad, but when they fought the mask order, you know what the judge said to him? He said, you could stop this mask order legislatively. Just call a session. Why are you dumping it on me and spending all this taxpayer money? And you want to know why? They did that so that they could palm it off on the judge, not take the hit. 72% of the people in this state believe in a mask order. People wear masks. And so what they did is waste everybody's money. The Republican Party is incapable of administering taxpayer money honestly and competently. Look what they did in Foxconn. Look what they're doing in this litigation. I want to send the word out everywhere. You think the Republican Party is fiscally responsible? It's a vandal party squandering Wisconsin taxpayer money.
Well, Matt, the $500 lawyers, that's on the cheap end of the scale. Some were paid as much as $820 an hour. That's about $1.6 million per annum for one lawyer. I'll read on. In all, Republican lawmakers have spent more than $5 million over the last 2 years on private attorneys at taxpayer expense. The largest part of that amount, $2.1 million, went towards defending lame duck lawsuits that limited Evers' powers according to bills released under the state's public record laws. In a quick quote, this one from Democratic Rep. Evan Goyke of Milwaukee, "It's fascinating to have small government-minded conservatives have a slush fund of money with no accountability for private lawyers. One might think that antithetical to their 'don't tread on me' flag that they're flying on the back of their trucks." Evan Goyke, I like that. 844-967-2789. Let's welcome others to the party. Darren, say hi to Matt Flynn.
Mr. Flynn, how are you?
Hey, Darren. Good to talk to you.
You too. So one thing I'm going to talk about, or I want to bring up, it's kind of outside the United States. It's possible war with China. See that we're making 3 major arms deals with Taiwan. Xi Jinping recently told all of his troops to, get ready. I know that we're in the middle of an election here, but do you see who do you see as a better leader and why? I mean, in regards if that does happen, I mean, it's going to be Biden or it's going to be Trump, but I still see that, China, a war with China, they're talking about it. We're doing all these deals with Taiwan to protect them because the Chinese Communist Party has said that they look at that as part of their territory. So they're probably going to take it. What happens if they do? And then where do we go from there? I mean, I just want to see your insight on everybody's insight on this.
Well, Darren, appreciate that thought. We don't often talk nuanced foreign policy around here, not while Trump's been the president. But I would say Trump's policy, and I'll let you go next, Matt. Trump would probably say something to Xi Ping, right? Something of that effect. The Chinese premier. Well, if you're going to treat Taiwan like that, you're going to have to take it out furniture shopping. Matt, what was your thought?
Well, here's the deal, Darren. I think this is a fake dispute right now, ginned up by Trump to make it look like he's tough on commies. As a matter of fact, he's a commie slave. He's Putin's puppet. He is Putin's mistress. He's afraid of Putin, but he has to look tough on commies, so he turns to the Chi-Coms. Now, the Chi-Coms are it's the Chinese Communist Party. They're no good. They are not going to take Taiwan. They objected to our supporting Taiwan going back to 1949. Nothing's changed. Trump went to him privately and said, "Can you help me with Biden? Can you help me get dirt on Biden? And I will play ball with you on some things." And Xi Jinping is smart enough to have said no, because he knows that Trump would leak it to make him look bad. That's what's going on here. There's not going to be any war with China. China has 1.5 billion, 1.3 billion people. It's essentially an ant farm. I mean, it's an authoritarian state. And the truth is, they don't have to go to war. All they have to continue to do is extend their influence in Asia and elsewhere economically, because Trump isn't doing anything to stop them. His trade war is ridiculous. He had the chance to join the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which would have boxed China out, and he turned it down. And China, I mean, look, we have 7,200 nuclear weapons. China has 270 nuclear weapons. Now, even one is too many if there's a war. China does not intend to get into a war. And the admirals and generals in our military, and I've talked to some of them. I'm a member of the Navy League. I'm a Navy veteran, and I'm interested in military matters. We will never get in a land war in Asia again. It's nuts. I mean, we're a nation of 330 million people. China alone is almost 1.5 billion. It ain't going to happen. So relax. It's not going to happen. It's a Trump scam 3 weeks before the election.
Well, Trump claims he's been tough on China. The tariffs, China's paying, which of course China's not paying. The American consumer pays, and the farmers here in the state of Wisconsin have paid the price. And of course, to hear Trump tell it, now he's got the Kung Flu China flu.
Right.
Quite insulting.
He's tough on commies. He's a commie. He is a Russian commie asset is what he is. He's not tough on anybody. He's not tough on his creditors. He owes them $400 million. He's subservient to his creditors.
China does make me nervous. Darren, thank you for your thoughts and contribution. You should call into the town hall, the one on ABC, and see if you can ask Joe Biden that question, because I don't think they're going to be talking policy over on the NBC town hall. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. My buddy Matt Flynn sitting in for Dominic today.
Away. Oh!
on you.
I don't think you're going to have a trade war.
Never get involved in a land war in Asia.
Vagina.
People of Wisconsin. We're the people of Wisconsin.
We come from places like Mineral Point,
Sister Bay,
Pleasant Prairie,
and Iron River.
We can't overstate what COVID-19 has done to each of us in our state.
But as different as we all are,
and are all experiencing this differently,
we're all in this together. So I'll keep gathering small.
Wash my hands for 20 seconds.
And I'll wear a mask.
For you. We don't have to go all out.
But we do have to be all in.
Learn more at weareallinwi.com.
Do you know the Devil's Advocate started as a podcast, just two buddies talking into an iPad because we thought we had something to say. Do you have something to say? Let Devil Radio guide you. Launch your own broadcast quality podcast. Utilize our studios and staff, our hosting platform, and we will even promote your podcast on Devil Radio. Monthly packages start at just $295. Devil Radio's podcast platform to launch immediately after the election. Call today to learn more. 608-819-TALK.
Stream the Devils and Progressive News and Talk 24/7 at the Devil's Advocates Radio Network, Wisconsin. That's DARNWI.com. That's DARNWI.com.
The Lazy Wolf Lounge is Madison's East Side place for friends and family. Whether it's for lunch or dinner, you know you're in for a tasty treat. Awesome apps, burgers, pizza, and the best fish fry in Madison. And join us to cheer on the green and gold with 50-cent wings, beer bucket specials, and free Jell-O shots with every Green Bay touchdown. Plenty of TVs inside or out on the patio. The Lazy Wolf Lounge, 1617 North Stoughton Road, and online at lazywolflounge.com.
Hi, Madison. This is Santita Jackson of The Santita Jackson Show. Every Tuesday morning at 7:30, please join Madison's own John Nichols of The Nation magazine as he unpacks the politics of the day right here on The Santita Jackson Show.
Stay informed with Progressive News and Talk on WTTN 1580 AM, Wisconsin's home for Devil Radio.
The Devil's Advocates, making radio great again.
You can run on for a long time. Run on for a long time. Run on for a long time. Sooner or later, gotta cut you down.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Matt Flynn. I love that song, man. You use that for your show, man. You made me love that song. And I can't wait till
God's going to cut you down. That says a lot right now. It says a lot right now.
If there is a vengeful God, I hope he's got Trump's number. 844-967-2789. Let's go back to the phones, Matt. People stacking up, want to talk to you. Jeannie from Eau Claire, welcome back. What do you got for us?
Hi, guys, and welcome, Matt. It's great to hear your voice on the air again.
Thanks, Jeannie.
Now, first of all, what I'm going to do, and I hope everybody will join me because it's a way to smack Trump across the face, is turn on every available media in your home to the Biden time on ABC, to his town hall, and let those signals go and let it go really strong. And that's one way to kick that guy in the butt, because Biden's ratings will come up higher. You don't need to sit and watch it if you don't. If you're not interested, just turn it on and let Trump sulk. Then I have a question for you, Matt.
Yeah.
There seems to be, in my opinion, a war already in our country with many casualties regarding Trump and the Republican war, on America, as far as the depraved indifference, I think that's a word I could use, you're the lawyer, of him needlessly exposing thousands and millions of people to the coronavirus. Maybe he's not breathing on people, but unmasked people in those crowds, going back home, kids going to school. I mean, I think that needs to be looked at. What is depraved indifference? Do you have a definition for that?
Right. That's right. And there's another term, and it's a depraved indifference is a very layman's good way of saying the word scienter. It's a legal term that means that you're so reckless that you might as well have intended it. And you're right. And one of the things that really concerns me the most here, Jeannie, is this. Trump can get tested every day. Everybody who comes within 20 feet of him gets tested. He has a cook to cook his meals. He never has to come close to anybody. But he's misleading people, Jeannie. A lot of people in this country who look up to him because he's the president say, oh, the president says it's okay, it's okay. They show up without masks. There was that poor guy down in Arizona. The woman, his daughter, spoke at the Democratic convention, and he died from it. Herman Cain died from it. Herman Cain said, well, Trump said it's okay. There's a lot. I don't know if you knew this, but remember when he said maybe we could inject bleach in our veins? Some people did, not a lot. Somebody in New York did, and they took him in the emergency room. A president can't talk like that without causing deaths. And that is the equivalent, at least, of negligent homicide. There's a crime, reckless homicide. And that's what it is. He's killed these people. And it's a disgusting, sad thing because he doesn't care. And he's a sociopath. But Jeannie, you nailed it, as you always do when you call in, right on the head.
844-96. Thank you, Jeannie. 844-967-2789. Be like Jeannie and be like LA Tom on the leftist coast. Tom, welcome back. What do you got for us?
Good afternoon. First off, we, the people, are the government. And we're going to show on November 3rd that we, the people, are the government by electing Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Also, I'd like to say, I hope, just a request, Crudy, if you can start playing that Mr. Foxconn ad or spot that you used to play on here. So the people.
Thank you, Mr. Foxconn.
Yeah, please continue. Please play that one because along with Trump came Foxconn. That was a Trump Walker situation, and it's basically just raped over the tax dollars, and they don't know anything about business or return on investment or anything.
Well,
Matt,
Tom, if you'll recall,
as well.
Tom, if you'll recall, Trump bragged if there wasn't a Trump presidency, there wouldn't have been a Foxconn. And for anyone listening, especially in southeastern Wisconsin, let's say, but really across the whole state, because we're all on the hook, just remember that Trump equals Foxconn.
Right. And you know something, Tom, not only that, Mount Pleasant has $795 million in debt. Their tax base isn't $795 million. Racine County can't tolerate that. That means our state's going to have to bail it out. And this is something where we have about $1 billion in sunk costs in that thing. And they have their hand out and they want more money. They want more money. They have a fake factory. It was a scam from the start. Walker and Trump both did it. They posed with silver shovels and then they're gone. Like flatulence out of a goose. They're gone. No one ever heard of them again.
It just disappeared like magic, Matt.
The Republican Party can't manage money honestly or competently. They're not the money party. They're not the money party. They're the scam party. They're not honest. And people have got to get that through their heads. Donald Trump wastes money and he steals money. And that's all he cares about doing.
Tom, any final thoughts?
No.
You're going to watch the town hall tonight, and which one?
Well, first off, they're all a bunch of grifters. And definitely for people in Wisconsin who are very pragmatic people, as myself being a past Wisconsinite, I would hope that people would just wake up and see really and truly what's happening here. I will not be watching Trump at all. I hope that nobody does. Shame on NBC for showing this thing opposite. Yeah, I hope everyone just tunes in to watch Joe Biden, or as Jeannie from Eau Claire said, just turn on all your TVs onto that channel. So therefore, Trump, I'm sure Trump will say he got the best ratings no matter what.
Well, he's going to say that anyways. Thank you, Tom, the Peacock. It's getting a black eye tonight. Come back. It's my Joe Biden loving buddy, Matt Flynn and Crudy. More Devils.
everybody wanted Foxconn. I hate to say it, if I didn't get elected, they wouldn't be in this country. They would not have done this in this country. I think you know that very well.
I would like to thank you, President Trump. I also want to express my thanks to Governor Walker.
Foxconn CEO Terry Goh is thankful to the Republicans who delivered his $4.5 billion in corporate welfare.
Thank you to Foxconn.
Scott Walker thanks the foreign corporation who received the largest corporate welfare subsidy in history.
Thank you, Mr. President.
What about thanking the hardworking Wisconsin taxpayers you saddled with a generation of debt for a project that may never be paid back?
People should be rushing to me and patting my back and say, hey, thank you, Mr. Foxconn.
Call Governor Scott Walker at 608-266-1212 and tell him no thank you to corporate welfare, no thank you to environmental rollbacks, no thank you to a project that may never be paid back, no thank you to Foxconn. This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
From the Capitol in Madison, this is Wiz Politics Midday.
I'm Stephanie Hoff, your host, and this podcast is brought to you by Spectrum. A lot has been happening in the state and federal courts surrounding COVID-19 and the election, seemingly the two largest issues in the U.S. today. Pat Pabletti is on now to dive into some of the most pressing issues facing Wisconsin and the court system, including the absentee ballot deadline. Governor Tony Evers is asking the U.S. Supreme Court to extend that deadline for mail-in ballots. Pat, what's happening there?
Well, Stephanie, I think if you've been following this court battle over absentee ballots, it would be a little bit like watching a tennis match from the center of the court where your head's just going back and forth and back and forth. And you probably have a little bit of whiplash here. And there have been so many twists and turns, it's going to be hard to completely recap it. So I'll just go with a couple main points. So first, what happened was a U.S. District Court judge issued a ruling allowing, among other things, for absentee ballots that are postmarked by Election Day to be counted as long as they are received up to 7 days after Election Day. Now, the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals ruled last week that that order violated a U.S. Supreme Court principle against making changes to state requirements too close to an election in order to avoid confusion. Now, it's worth noting here that that was a split decision. It was a 3-judge panel, and that panel ruled 2-1 in that case. So now the plaintiffs in that case are seeking to bring it to the U.S. Supreme Court, and Evers in this case has asked the court permission to file an amicus brief or a friend of the court brief kind of weighing in on the issue.
In this proposed brief, Governor Tony Evers has also ripped the legislature for its inaction on battling COVID-19. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, Stephanie. So one of the things that he really targets is an explosion in cases that has pushed Wisconsin into the top 3 states in the country in terms of numbers of infections reported over a 7-day period. Now, that includes going back to the state Supreme Court's 4-3 ruling in May that overturned the Evers administration's extended stay-at-home order. So essentially what Evers said here is that the legislature has made no efforts of its own to protect Wisconsin citizens from the virus's deadly spread. And the document also accuses the legislature of essentially sitting on its hands and ignoring the dangers of in-person voting during growing COVID infections, other than to hire outside counsel to challenge that lower court ruling we talked about a little bit earlier, extending that absentee ballot deadline.
Meanwhile, a federal judge is raising some ethical questions over 5 Wisconsin cities.
Stay informed with progressive news and talk on Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, Waunakee's choice for essential radio.
The big and tall of political talk. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Happy Thursday to us all. Got a fine guest co-host, co-devil for the day, Matt Flynn, attorney Matt Flynn, twice elected DPW chair Matt Flynn, and most importantly, friend of mine, Matt Flynn. Appreciate you doing this today. Matt, we're going back to the phones in just a moment. But here is some troubling news at the Journal Sentinel, the newest COVID numbers. And man, they are blowing up in Wisconsin. The headline, Wisconsin shatters previous daily records with more than 3,700 new coronavirus cases. Man, actually that number, 3,747, nearly 3,750 new cases in one day, nearly triple the number reported just 1 month ago. The 7-day average is its highest ever, 2927. We're almost at 3,000 positives per day as a rolling average, Matt. And the death rate, it has gone up as well. We've got 17 more deceased, bringing the death toll to 1,553. Our prior earlier guest, Khizr Khan, Gold Star father, talked about having some Wisconsin ties. And apparently the last time he looked, the number was 1,400. We're up to 1,553. Quickly, Governor Tony Evers expressed his frustration with residents who he said have not taken the ballooning outbreak seriously. We can prevent deaths, Evers said in a conference call. I don't know how anyone in the state of Wisconsin can feel comfortable about saying, what the hell? I don't care about preventing deaths. That is unimaginable to me. Again, Tony Evers, 844-967-2789. Let's go back to the phones. I believe Bruce from Madison, you're next. Thanks for your call, sir. What do you got for us?
Hi, I just want to talk about the courts.
Yes, sir.
And this business, the business about packing them. The Republicans have spent the last 3 years packing the federal courts. They wouldn't get anybody from Obama, who he nominated. They wouldn't even vote on him. And so there was a gazillion seats. And now the last 3 years they've been packing them. I really think they're playing the long game here. I think they don't care. I think they know they're going to lose the Senate. They're probably going to lose the presidency too. And so we'll have the House, and that essentially is what they're going to do is use the courts to legislate, and they're going to just file suits on all the legislation that gets passed and leave it up to the courts to decide what to do. They installed a bunch of people who are very sympathetic to the conservative edge, and I think we're going to get a lot of legislation turned over. They're already doing it in Wisconsin with this mask business.
Bruce, I'm going to have my pal Matt Flynn address this, but quickly before I have him do so, are you going to watch one or the other of the town halls? Will it be ABC and Joe Biden or NBC and Donald Trump?
ABC, and I want to see rating happy Trump get smashed in the ratings.
Bruce, from your lips to God's ears. Matt, what about packing the courts?
Yeah, Bruce, those are some very good comments. And I'll tell you something, you did hit the nail right on the head. What the Republicans have done, they've appointed some 300 or so federal judges, especially at the appellate court level. And these people have life appointments. And it used to be you needed 60 votes to pass a judge. They reduced it. Obama had finally reduced it to 51 because they wouldn't let any Obama judge in. They said that if Hillary were elected, they wouldn't confirm a single Supreme Court justice over her 4 years. That's what they said. So now what they're doing is exactly what you're saying. They put these people in, and we've all heard from the Federalist Society, well, we're strict constructionists, we're literalists, we're just calling balls and strikes. Well, that's baloney. In Citizens United, they overturned a 100-year-old law that had been passed through several Congresses, that had been upheld by several Supreme Courts, and they just said, well, they were all wrong. They were all wrong. And then they changed it the way they wanted to do. Amy Coney Barrett, who's up right now, there's a law that says if you're a felon in the state of Illinois, you cannot have a firearm. She said, well, the statute should have said violent felons. So I'm going to say violent felons. This guy was nothing more. He cheated Medicaid out of $50 million. He gets to have a gun. I mean, they put words in statutes. That's not literal construction. And what I'm afraid of is they then reduce the Supreme Court bar to 51 votes from 60. All you need is a majority. If Trump gets in again, Breyer may retire. There's several that may retire. And if they retire, Trump may have appointed half the Supreme Court. And those people, they're in their 40s, some of them, they are going to be on there for 40 more years to the year 2060. In the year 2060, I'm going to be 113, and I ain't going to be around. So, I mean, the point is, what you've said is spot on. Now, the question that Groot says is, should we pack the court? You know, Franklin Roosevelt threatened to do that, and then the court caved. I think that Biden should threaten to do it. That will make people like Gorsuch and Roberts start to think twice. And so this is a game. Sadly, it's a game, even though it's democracy. But that's my feeling about what's going to happen.
And you can defer or diverge in opinion from Joe Biden. Are you only spouting the company line because Joe Biden says, I'm not sure if I believe in quote unquote packing the court, expanding the number of Supreme Court justices on the court? Matt, is that your belief, or are you espousing the Joe Biden line?
Well, I support Joe, but I don't really think the Supreme Court should be expanded. And the reason I say that is it's now 9. It used to be fewer, but 100 and some odd years ago, we went to 9. And it has served us fairly well in the 20th century. I mean, we had Brown versus Board of Education. We had a lot of good, the Miranda case and a lot of them.
Well, we used to have Thurgood Marshall on the court. We replaced him with Thomas. If we replace RBG with Coney Barrett, I mean, that's changed the makeup of the court substantially, and we'll be down 6-3, Matt.
Yeah. If you add something like 4 more justices, then there are 13. Then you get into a call for do it in panels, 3 or 4 each for each case. I think that it's unwise. I wouldn't rule it out if it got really bad, if you had 9 people in there who are traitors to the United States. But these people, Roberts is going somewhat moderate. Gorsuch is, Gorsuch found that the Indian tribe in Oklahoma owned about half the state, including the major cities. I mean, that was something that I would have had to think twice. I'm not kidding. I mean, this was a very progressive decision. Gorsuch and Roberts, once they're on there, for instance, William Brennan was a conservative. He went on there. He's the most liberal guy. So relax, but we got to get Trump out of there.
I'm not ready to relax. Not about
you don't look relaxed. You look, your ears are twitching. You don't look relaxed, but all right, relax.
I hardly ever get relaxed, Matt. 844-967-2789, maybe after the 420 break. But right now, going back to the phone, Dick from Madison. Welcome back, man. What do you got for us today?
Gentlemen, I think I told you this last night. If James Carville was running this thing at the state level, the Biden campaign, it's Foxconn, stupid, and you ram it down their throat every chance you get because people don't like knowing that they got duped out of this much tax dollar. Earlier, you talked about the transition between these two and what it would look like. In my mind, the only good way of having a transition between clinically insane and normal would be, remember Nurse Ratched, was it, from the Cuckoo's Nest?
Oh, I thought you meant Leah Buchmer for just a moment, but please continue.
You put her in charge of Donald Trump, and if need be, you put him in a straitjacket for that 2.5 months. That's just about the only way I see you can deal with this guy. But,
aren't you ashamed?
Dick, appreciate that thought. I don't know if a straitjacket, that might be a tough one to push through.
You'd have a big one, and you'd have to, the special forces go in to do it. I support it. Don't get me wrong, but he will be there for 70 some odd days, and he can do a lot of damage. That's the
Patients aren't allowed in the nurse's station.
844-967-2789. Going back to the phones. Our pal Wisco Paul, say hi to Matt Flynn.
Hi, Matt, and welcome back. It's always nice to hear your voice on the radio. Hey, as far as the Supreme Court goes, Matt and Crudy also, Coney Barrett never answered a question, and the 3 that really bother me, I have a brother with pre-existing, so he needs the Affordable Care Act, and that's going to be coming up. And as far as climate, never answered a question on that.
She's not a scientist, Paul. That sounded very weaselly. It sounded like a Scott Walker answer. I'm going to have to punt on that one.
Yeah, well, the bottom line is we do need clean air and clean water. And the last one that really bothers me, because I worked a union shop my whole life, is labor laws. Now, how much of that stuff do you think they're coming after, Matt? All of it? Some of it? And is there any hope for labor and the Affordable Care Act and also climate? And you have a great day, and I hope you're on the radio more often.
Well,
Yes,
check back on election night. He's been invited, if not before. Paul, appreciate your call. Is Janice the labor case? Am I getting that right? Is that the one that the Supreme Court has been chopping at, Matt?
Right. Here's what's going on. I personally, I don't support Amy Coney Barrett. I think that they should wait. If she's appointed, I doubt very seriously that she's going to vote to tank the Affordable Care Act or Roe v. Wade. I don't think a majority of the court will. They're too entrenched. But what she will do is on things like criminal rights, immigration, and labor, she'll be unbelievably right-wing. And in labor, what they did was they basically scuttled public unions all over around the country. But the mother of all labor cases that they want to do is make the entire country right to work. That's what they want. I mean, that's what they want. And Walker did it here. They did it in Michigan, but there are some states that are not right to work. And what's going to happen is that Coney and the rest of them, that they will vote to do everything they can to hurt labor unions. So we got to understand that. And anybody in labor, 40% of labor, the labor membership voted for Trump. All right. And listen to me. Everybody out there, listen to me. This isn't funny. I mean, it was not funny. Your wages will go down. He's coming for your pensions. He was going to suspend Social Security tax so he could look like a tax cutter, but that would have wiped out Social Security by the year 2023, and the Republicans aren't stopping him. People don't understand what he's doing. I'm talking money. I'm talking your pension. I'm talking your wages. I'm talking about safety conditions at work. And if people don't understand that, and you vote for Trump because you heard that somebody's going to take your gun away, nobody's taking your gun away. Nobody's taking your gun away. It's a lot of baloney. Let's knock it off. And let's get with the program.
Just to add to that, and also with Amy Coney Barrett, that's exactly what Sheldon Whitehouse was talking about. That's one of the cases that Sheldon Whitehouse was talking about when the dark money is flowing in, and the amicus briefs were all filed at the same time under the same company by the same groups, all at the same time. And it's the Bradley Foundation basically bringing that thing to the courts. And most of the amicus briefs were brought by and funded by the Bradley Foundation as well. Sheldon Whitehouse did an entire presentation on it. We played a lot of that the other day.
I know you've been watching a lot of this, Matt. What was your impression of Whitehouse laying out the dark money behind the judicial picks, the Federalist Society, the Bradley Foundation? What was your thought?
I'm a huge fan of his, and I thought he did a masterful job. And I got to tell you something. One of these days, I'd like to see him on a national ticket. I mean, the guy has presence, and he has a lot of guts, and he cuts right through it. And he did it there. I met him in 2008. I was in Hillary Clinton's finance committee, and they had a reception in Washington. They had a bunch of senators, and he was there. I was impressed as heck with this guy, Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island. And the truth of the matter is, he just nailed it. And what Brian said is exactly right. It's exactly right. That's exactly what's happening. And everybody out there, it comes to money. They're after your pensions and your wages. They're going to lower your wages, get rid of overtime, screw around on overtime, wage theft, and they're going to hit working conditions. Okay? Do you understand that?
I know why you like Whitehouse, because he's got a great head of hair, just like you, Matt Flynn. Come back with us.
Mine hasn't turned white, right? Well, yes, it has. Yes, it has.
Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates.
That music is for everyone.
RELAX.
When you're outside, we'll discuss whatever problem you have.
So relax. Let's have some fun out here. This game's fun, okay? So enjoy your life, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy your life.
Are you a small business owner or professional that would like to be featured in your own weekly Ask the Expert radio segment or show on Devil Radio? Let us help you in your business team with our broadcast professionals to create the right show or segment, setting you apart as the go-to professional and as an expert in your field. All shows and sponsored segments are podcasted. It will be professional broadcast quality. Packages from $395. Call Devil Radio today at 608-819-TALK.
This is Tony with Quality CBD. We are located on Willie Street across from the co-op. At Quality CBD, we are vertically integrated. From soil to oil and seed to sale, we grow, extract, manufacture, and distribute quality CBD oil. We also have contact-free delivery options at qualitycbd.org. Quality CBD. Legal, local, legit.
I'm Rocker, and this is my vodka, distilled right here in Madison, made from corn and gluten-free. Try Rocker Vodka at Sal's Dark Horse on Livingston or Sugar River Pizza in Verona. Find Rocker Vodka at Star Liquor, Woodman's, Willie Street Co-op, Vic Pierce, Steve's Liquor, Total Wine, Miller & Sons, and more at rockervodka.com.
Hey folks, this is Patrick, one of the owners of Pegasus Games. For 40 years, Pegasus has been a home for the gaming community. And through these times, our community has remained strong and connected, both online and safely at home. While you've been away, we've been hard at work updating our game room and inventory, and we can't wait to invite you home. For now, stop by the store during our reduced hours from noon to 6. Walk-ins welcome, or curbside pickup available over the phone or online at pegasusgames.com. Pegasus Games, home to games you never outgrow.
Taking on Ready Whitey Talk Radio on both sides of the dial from McFarland to Wanakee, Devil Radio 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
The Devil's Advocates. Political commentary from the back of the class.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Got my pal Matt Flynn sticking around for one more segment. Then moving on to former U.S. Attorney James Santelle. Nothing but buddies around here because Dom has flown the coop once again. He'll be back on Monday. Matt, breaking headline. I had not seen this one. A 51-year-old Wisconsin man has been charged with material support of an act of terrorism for his alleged role in plans to storm the state capitol and harm government officials, including kidnapping Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Brian Higgins of Wisconsin Dells was arrested in Wisconsin on Thursday and will be extradited to Michigan, where 3 of the other 13 suspects in the alleged kidnapping plot have been arraigned, according to the Attorney General Dana Nessel's office. Higgins participated in surveillance of Whitmer's vacation home, according to the Michigan State Police affidavit. That apparently breaking news, Matt. I want to get your impression. Is this how we govern now? We have armed white nationalist militias just go kidnap governors when they don't agree with what's happening.
Well, you know, you set the tone from the top. And Donald Trump, I don't know if you remember this, he kept calling Whitmer that woman, and he urged his supporters to go to the Capitol. They showed up in camouflage with weapons, go to the Capitol and intimidate the heck out of everybody. He's also encouraged them to do this at the polls. So no, this is not American democracy, and it's not an American thing to do. It's a thug thing to do. It's an autocratic thing to do, and it's coming right from the top. And you know, people have been very gentle on Trump in opposing all this. What Trump has done is a criminal offense, and they say they can't prosecute him because he's the president. There's no statute that says that. That's a Justice Department memo that has no force of law, and a federal judge out east said that it had no force of law. He could be prosecuted. But the point is, he is stirring up violence. He stirred up the guy who murdered people at the Walmart in El Paso. Remember that? He stirred him up, used the same language. And a lot of these people that come out and do these crimes say things that he said. He is the spider at the center of the web. And it's sad to hear that a guy from Wisconsin got swept up in this thing. But remember, they all got together in Columbia County at Cambria, remember? And Cambria and Columbia County is not that far from Madison.
Buddy, we got a AM radio signal originating from Columbia County, 1580 AM, the best radio signal in white militia land, apparently. WTT.
They didn't burn your station, your tower down because you're a member of the media. No,
Well,
it's a terrible thing. The leadership signal is coming from the top.
844-967-2789. The last couple callers for our pal Matt Flynn, and then on to former U.S. Attorney James Santelle in the happy hour. Joe from Stevens Point, say hi to Matt.
Hey, what's up, fellas? Matt, it's always good to have you on the other side of the radio. Hey, I just wanted to chime in that we've got to pack these courts. You said it. We start from the top down. These guys are not fair players. You don't go dinking around with these guys because they'll smash you like they did in Wisconsin. You look at the way that they are running the show by the numbers. We don't have the room to go up there and not reform things. If we really implement we can't do anything because X, Y, Z, we're going to get spanked so hard in 2022. And by the way, this is Trump is really freaking out senior citizens by pushing his herd immunity / mentality. This is freaking people out, but we need a activated court. We need to acknowledge the pain. I like the numbers you brought up, Matt. 40% of the union guys are voting for Trump. That should have never taken place if we were a strong Democratic Party. We never would have taken that vote for granted. And by the way, Trump is now pushing. He wants everybody to have the same health care treatment plan that he did to treat his COVID. I saw an article, a study. They figured that it cost him about $100,000. If you're pushing herd immunity, it's a 67% strategy. That is 220 million people. When you multiply 220 million people by 100K, it's $15 trillion of socialist taxpayer money. Where are the Democrats? We should be stomping his forehead with this idiocy.
Well, Joe, of course, talk is cheap. Actual cures, or at least therapeutics, they cost a hell of a lot of money. Time for one more here, I think. Steady Eddie from Madison. Steady Eddie, say hi to Matt Flynn.
Hi, Matt Flynn.
Hey, Eddie.
Hey, I'm riding with Biden, and I'm going to go with Joe. I got a poem I'm going to dedicate to Matt Flynn tonight. Here goes. My name is Ron Johnson. I come from Wisconsin. I worked for Trump, Putin, and Moscow Mitch. I slandered Joe Biden while in my basement and I'm hiding. My name is Ron Johnson, and I'm a dirty, lying son of a bitch.
You're a good poet. You are a very good poet. Thank you very much, Eddie.
I think he took
son of a bitch.
I think he took your original work and made it just a little bit better, man.
A little better. Thank you, Eddie. Very good stuff. Very good stuff.
Matt, we got like 2 more minutes. What comes next? I assume Joe Biden is our next president. We will celebrate the glorious victory on November 3rd. Then we'll have a couple months of scariness during the transition. And then, Matt, what? Here in the state of Wisconsin, we'll have Republicans lining up by the cartload to declare that they're going to be a better governor than Tony Evers. We know Rebecca Clayfish. We know that it's been rumored Ron Johnson considering. Matt,
Rebecca
what do you think? What comes next here?
Rebecca Clayfish is not competent to be governor. They just want to sit in the back of an open Chevy and do a pageant wave. That's all they want her to do, and let the Bradley Foundation run the state. That's not going to happen. Tony Evers is going to get reelected. I support Tony Evers. I've had my issues with Tony Evers, but I want a Democratic governor. And Ron Johnson, frankly, won't dare show his face. I don't think I said this at a Denny's in Green Bay. The guy has betrayed this country by saying that he doesn't trust our CIA and FBI, even though he's the chairman of the subcommittee on homeland security. That's what he is. He works for them. And he trashed our own intelligence services. We don't want him anywhere near this state. All they have is Rebecca Clayfish, and she's lieutenant governor, a nice person. I've known her a long, long time. I knew her when she was a TV reporter in Milwaukee a long time ago, but not governor material, period, end of story.
Man, good thing you weren't elected governor of the state of Wisconsin, because you'd have definitely been on some malicious radar. and we'd be
Yeah, there would have been
kidnapped, man. Thank you so much. Come back with us, former U.S. Attorney James Santelle. Appreciate it, Matt Flynn.
I invented the piano key necktie. I invented it. What
I know
have you
more
done?
about drones than anybody.
I think I know more about the environment than most people.
You know that. I know that. Everybody knows that. I know nothing about Russia.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Stay home when you are sick. Cover your cough or sneeze. Clean and disinfect frequently touched objects with household cleaning spray. For more information, visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. This message brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Stream the Devils in progressive news and talk 24/7 at the Devil's Advocates Radio Network, Wisconsin. That's DARNWI.com. That's DARNWI.com.
Whiz Cannabis Radio is brought to you by Herbal Aspect, Madison's #1 CBD brand. You can catch the show live on our social channels. Just search for Whiz Cannabis Radio. Herbal Aspect is a local, black-owned small business. For more information, go to herbalaspect.com.
You are listening to WTTN 1580 AM Columbus and W224EG 92.7 FM Madison. Always streaming at Talk 92.7 FM.
AP News. I'm Ed Donahue. A coronavirus hotspot is Wisconsin. The state reached a new daily high for positive cases today for the second time this week. This is Governor Tony Evers.
Bottom line, the longer it takes for everyone to take this virus seriously, the longer it will take to get our economy and our communities back on track.
Meantime, President Trump is taking shots at Dr. Anthony Fauci over the coronavirus. Here's the AP's Sagar Magani.
In North Carolina, the president reminded a campaign rally Fauci at first told people not to wear masks.
Don't, right? So we don't wear a mask. Then they say, oh, wear a mask.
Later saying Fauci's a nice guy, so I keep him around. Fauci has said the early recommendation against masks was because there was a shortage for health professionals, and he's since called for universal mask wearing. Earlier on ABC's Good Morning America, he ripped the White House's embrace of herd immunity, the idea that a disease will stop spreading once nearly everybody has contracted it. Fauci says it would lead to many more vulnerable people getting sick.
We just got to look that square in the eye and say it's nonsense.
Sagar Magani, Washington.
There was supposed to be a presidential debate tonight. It is off. The moderator, Steve Scully, was suspended indefinitely by C-SPAN after he admitted to lying about his Twitter feed being hacked when he was confronted about a questionable exchange with former Trump aide Anthony Scaramucci. The Senate Judiciary Committee will vote a week from today on Amy Coney Barrett's Supreme Court nomination. There were some tense moments, but Chair Lindsey Graham ended with this.
You have challenged the judge. You've challenged us. And I accept those challenges as being sincere and not personal.
Joe Biden's running mate, Kamala Harris, tested negative for the coronavirus. She canceled travel for several days after 2 people in the campaign tested positive. The Dow lost 19 points. This is AP News.
T-Mobile for Business knows saving time and money is important for your business. That's why we're introducing Microsoft 365 on us, now included in our best business plans. With Office apps, Microsoft Teams, cloud storage, and more, Microsoft 365 on us gives you the tools you need to run your business. Stop by a T-Mobile store today. Qualifying plan required. Contactless activate. 1 license per line, max 2 per account. Third-party terms apply. See T-Mobile.com for plan details.
Walgreens has always been there to help make your healthcare easier. From making sure you have the prescriptions you need to answering any questions you have about them. Now, the question is whether you have the right Medicare plan. And we're here to help make that easier too. Walgreens can save you money and peace of mind.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, I'm glorious.
Walgreens. We make Medicare
going on.
Yeah, it's been a couple days and I just wanted to not have to shave for a minute.
It's been some.
I'm Rocker, and this is my vodka, distilled right here in Madison.
Cool, man, you're good.
Made from corn and gluten-free. Try Rocker Vodka at Sal's Dark Horse on Livingston or Sugar River Pizza.
He wants to start with the Unmasking and Rojo and then go to Coney Barrett.
Woodman's, Millie Street Co-op, Vic Pierce, Steve's Liquor, Total
Do you have
Wine,
any time
Miller
limitations, and are you available for the hour?
RockerVodka.com.
The hour, absolutely. I have no time limitations.
Wisconsin has more new cases
These are good things
than
to know.
Illinois. We have twice as many new cases
For
as
you
Michigan,
always.
Iowa, and Minnesota combined. Yet Scott Fitzgerald refuses to help people.
We want to wait till
and
you get your
family
backs against
safe.
the wall and
Call
then
Scott
ask.
Fitzgerald at 608-266-5660 and tell him this pandemic is real and we need help. Call Scott Fitzgerald at 608-266-5660. Tell him to do his job and work with the governor. Paid for by Blue Sky Waukesha. Stream the Devils and progressive news and talk 24/7 at the Devil's Advocates Radio Network, Wisconsin. That's DARNWI.com. That's DARNWI.com.
Hey folks, Jimmy K here from Hotel K Pet Sitting and Dog Walking. Hotel K is your pet's new best friend, offering dog walks, cat care visits, and professional house sitting in the greater Madison area. Our pet sitters are experienced, dependable, and offer you peace of mind while you're away. Schedule now at freebellyrubs.com. Freebellyrubs.com. Hotel K Pet Sitting and Dog Walking. Freebellyrubs.com.
Hi, everybody. This is Santita Jackson of the Santita Jackson Show. Every Thursday morning at 7 o'clock, say hello, somebody, and join former Bernie Sanders co-chair, former state senator Nina Turner on the Santita Jackson Show on 92.7 FM.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM. I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines for Thursday, October 15th. Wisconsin reports more than 1,000 coronavirus patients hospitalized as state opens overflow facility at State Fair Park. As Wisconsin opened a medical station at State Fair Park for COVID-19 patients on Wednesday, the state reported for the first time more than 1,000 people were hospitalized with the virus, another high point for the state's rapidly escalating health crisis. The State Department of Health Services on Wednesday reported 3,107 new cases and 28 deaths due to COVID-19. A third of registered Madison voters have already cast their ballots. The number of absentee ballots already returned by city residents ahead of the November 3rd presidential election represents over 34% of the city's registered voters and 40% of city voters who participated by absentee or in person in the 2016 election. You're listening to Devil Radio.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening. Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We welcome back a fine guest, a substitute, I would say better co-host for the hour. He is James Santelle. Not better than Matt Flynn. Matt did an excellent job. We think Matt Flynn better than my little buddy Dominic probably would have done. You know, sometimes you just need someone who's done the homework, Jim. I hope that's you.
And I'm glad to be with you. Perhaps he is home reading through many of the reports we've given him as homework for the past year and a half.
No, he's partying on a beach in Florida.
Okay. Maybe he's got them along with him. You never know.
Destination wedding. I doubt it, Jim. You give him way too much credit. Buddy, let me ask you, before we get into the meat of the conversation, you watching the ABC Joe Biden town hall? Are you watching the NBC Donald Trump town hall? Or as Trump says, you know, a free hour on television, a free Trump campaign ad?
We need split screens in America, don't we? At least tonight we do. And it is disappointing at best that the American public doesn't have a chance to see both of them simultaneously, if you will, because those things, as they do appear in those kinds of town hall forums, I think are best perceived and best consumed in real time. I don't pretend to know all the ins and outs of commercial television, news reporting, that sort of thing that has to do with scheduling, but it would be much better for the American public to see both of them. Frankly, best of all would be if tonight there was a debate, a remote debate between our two presidential candidates talking about real issues, perhaps moderated in a moderated way that also provides information to the American public. That would be best of all. It is disappointing we're not doing that. There is still a debate on, of course, for October 22nd coming up. Right.
You think there will be a debate on October 22nd, Jim?
That is a tough bet. I wouldn't want to take that bet at all, just because of recent history. We know that you can do this. We know that you can, in fact, have conversations by Zoom over the wonders of electrons. It would be wonderful, again, if in anticipation of this all-important election, we had that opportunity to see the two candidates face to face, if not in the same room, at least confronting the same kinds of issues from the same moderator, asking the same kinds of questions.
Jim, I got to ask you about Rojo, Ron Johnson's newest October surprise, or as I like to describe it, his newest pumpkin spice nothing burger. Oh my goodness, Jim, this makes Dan Rather seem very credible in comparison.
Right. We've got a lot from our senior senator in the state of Wisconsin, including the recent news here. All of these kinds of things, you look at them and you think about the timing of them, certainly because of the sense of October surprise type events. But you also, again, look to a United States senator who should be reporting on things that are credible, are meaningful, and again, go to issues that are relevant to the voting population as we wrestle with who to vote for in the coming weeks.
Well, shouldn't it all come down to Hunter Biden's emails, Jim? I mean, we played this song once before, I recall.
We have done this before, and we have said this before. We've made promises before about things that are going to upset this election. That has not come through. And of course, the Hunter Biden emails are the latest. I would suggest to you, shiny metal object we're throwing down the street, or red herring, whatever you want to call it. I find it dramatic, frankly, that even in describing this news story, that's why I've been fairly cryptic about it, and even describing it as a news story. And one of the recitations about this is the New York Post said this, that an unidentified computer repair shop owner discovered the emails and other compromising material about Hunter Biden after an unidentified person dropped off a water-damaged laptop in 2019 to be repaired, but never picked it up. Now, with that kind of predicate, is this the kind of thing that anyone, whether you are a member of the United States Congress or frankly a legitimate news source, should be talking about? Maybe there is more there. Maybe there does need to be more exposition about it. With that as the first effort to suggest that there is some inappropriate emails between Hunter Biden. Once again, this is supposedly related to Ukraine, speaking with Ukrainian officials and opening a door to the access to the then Vice President Joe Biden. Again, all of this, no reason to believe that this is accurate or true. And the word fabrication comes to mind as you even read the reports about what this story, so-called, is all about.
Well, even if true, it's relatively speaking, Jim, irrelevant, at least in my opinion. And my understanding, they do know the computer repair shop owner from Wilmington, Delaware. I believe his name Isaac, last name Isaac, and he's a Trumpster apparently, and said he feared for his life because, Seth Rich and the DNC offed him. Jim, when we consider the source, it completely undermines the credibility from the go.
Right, absolutely. We've got, his name is John Paul Mac Isaac. He's an avid Trump supporter, as you indicated. Many other things that he has said in the past that suggest that he is not a credible person. You look at this, I look at this as I think most Americans do, and look for those indicia of credibility. What about this person is suggesting to you not only about the story they tell, and again, I'd offer to you this afternoon that the story itself is incredible just because of the strangeness of this, all this unidentified people dropping off electronics without picking them up again. But you also look to the source of that to try to figure out whether or not this person, regardless of the story they're telling, is credible. This person, at a minimum, is hugely biased. Many other elements of baggage also carried with him. And again, a reason not to promote this in any legitimate news source, and certainly not to be talking about it, if you will, in this public forum, which apparently America now has to do. And to your other point about relevance too, let us suppose that there is a there, and I hesitate even to go down this road because it gives more credibility. But the underlying report, of course, is that Hunter Biden was in connection with one of the third-level Ukrainian officials and proposed a discussion, through Burisma, the company that he was working on. This is hardly the smoking gun, the kind of indicia of corruption that, again, the Republicans seem to be looking for, and our senior senator in particular seems to be advocating is out there. It just isn't, and we need to move on.
Well, if it was a big deal, you think Ron Johnson would have taken more issues with the reporting that there was a Trump Tower deal being negotiated during the electoral campaign, and Michael Cohen then went to the Congress and lied about it. Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Got a fine co-host for the hour, former U.S. Attorney James Santelle. And Jim, my understanding, the New York Post, and that's owned by Rupert Murdoch, and stories out today say even Rupert Murdoch is telling friends and confidants in private that he's expecting a blue wave Joe Biden victory. But setting that aside for now, the metadata from the photo allowed other credible journalists to find this Isaac character in less than a day. But the actual emails, these supposed Hunter Biden emails, they're not the original emails that the metadata could be searched for. These are photographs of the emails, and that suggests to many who are much smarter than I that these emails, Jim, are a probable forgery. I think you said fabrication. I mean, this is Dan Rather all over again.
It is. And again, layers upon layers, as we've already talked about, the nature of what is there, if there is a there, the nature of the person reporting them. And now when you get into the electrons, if we want to describe it that way, you come to realize that again, at least on a first blush and probably second blush, third and fourth analysis, again, there's nothing here to grab onto. We know, regrettably, that one of the wonders of electronics is that we can produce many images that we couldn't previously see. The downside of that is we can also do things through the wonders of our modern technology that are simply deceptive. And one of the great challenges, frankly, for prosecutors out there, for investigators, for people in civil litigation, in civil pursuit of matters related to what is the truth, is again cutting through what you just cut through, Mike, which is to say, okay, we need to peel this back. Where do we get that image? Where does that come from? Where do we derive all of this from? We need to find people, again, you like me, far more sophisticated in these kinds of things to do that peeling back. But it can be done, and it can be done readily, as you just indicated, within hours after this report hitting. It once again suggests that there is a huge problem with this. And I'm hopeful that even someone like Rupert Murdoch, after having perhaps gotten a few more sales on the New York Post, will abandon this and move on to some other equally perhaps crazy story out there that the Post regrettably often promotes.
Jim, heading to break here, but how troublesome would it be if the HISGAC report propagated by Ron Johnson is indeed a forgery and perhaps even Russia propaganda? I mean, how bad is that if that's what Ron Johnson's hoisting on the American people as his October surprise?
The question is incredibly important, incredibly serious. This is a United States senator that we have elected to represent us in Congress, who has got oversight authority when it comes to the operations of government. That's actually the name of the committee that he supervises. He has got, by virtue of his position, he has got credibility by virtue of that position, and that credibility is undermined when in fact you promote these kinds of things. There are so many other issues that we have talked about. Healthcare. Remember infrastructure from way back when this administration began? Immigration issues. We've got civil rights issues, we've got human rights issues, all kinds of things that could be the subject of frankly, advocacy on both sides, if you will, legitimate advocacy by reasonable people, and we're not doing that. Instead, we're looking at this. That's disappointing at best.
Well, Jim, I want to come back with you and talk more about the social media limitations on the traveling of the New York Post article, the unmasking, another big dud from the Republicans. And of course, Coney Barrett, want to talk about that as well. Come back with us, Devil's Advocates, my fine co-host for the hour, James Santelle. You on the phones, 844-967-2789.
I want to know, where is the server and what is the server saying?
It's the email. What? The email.
Russia, if you're listening, where is the server?
Here's your taco, mister.
Hey, Wisconsin.
We're Wisconsin.
I'm a dairy farmer. I'm a bartender.
Yo me escuela de enfermería.
There's no doubt no one's ever experienced anything like COVID-19.
Ever.
But there's also no doubt we'll get through it together.
So I'll sanitize surfaces.
I won't touch my face.
And I'll stand 6 feet apart.
Look, these are little things.
But they mean
everything. Let's all have each other's backs.
So we can all keep moving forward.
And let's all be in for each other.
Learn more at weareallinwi.com.
Do you know the Devil's Advocate started as a podcast, just two buddies talking into an iPad because we thought we had something to say? Do you have something to say? Let Devil Radio guide you. Launch your own broadcast quality podcast. Utilize our studios and staff, our hosting platform, and we will even promote your podcast on Devil Radio. Monthly packages start at just $295. Devil Radio's podcast platform to launch immediately after the election. Call today to learn more. 608-819-TALK.
Lando Commando here at Knucklehead CBD and Vapes, State Street's one-stop shop for all your CBD and vape needs, along with a walk-in humidor and huge glass selection. Check out the website, knuckleheadcbd.com, for an in-store menu and growing online catalog, and get your order shipped right to your door. With voting season upon us, Knuckleheads wants you to get out and vote. Get a free vote t-shirt with every $50 purchase. Located at 550 State Street, the shop is open 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. every day, and you can now call to schedule delivery or pickup. Knucklehead CBD and Vapes, high above State Street, your safest place in Madison.
Stream the Devils and progressive news and talk 24/7 at the Devil's Advocates Radio Network, Wisconsin. That's DARNWI.com. That's DARNWI.com.
Whiz Cannabis Radio is brought to you by Herbal Aspect, Madison's #1 CBD brand. You can catch the show live on our social channels. Just search for Whiz Cannabis Radio. Herbal Aspect is a local, black-owned small business. For more information, go to herbalaspect.com.
From Wanakee to McFarland, 92.7 FM is essential radio to get you through the pandemic.
The Devil's Advocates, because it's always 420 somewhere.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. One of my wife's favorite songs, Spirit in the Sky. My co-host for the hour, James Santelle, former U.S. attorney, friend of ours. Jim, you know why I'm playing this song? Just sort of a momentary digression. Checking the headlines during the commercial break. Donald Trump reportedly said today, someone said to me the other day, "You're the most famous person in the world by far." I said, "No, I'm not." They said, "Who's more famous?" I said, "Jesus Christ." Cuckoo Cachoo, Jim, he is the walrus.
Where do we start with those kinds of things? By the chief executive, the man in charge of the greatest nation on the face of the planet. This is a fellow who also described not too long ago the matters related to Russia and the unmasking, which I think we're talking about next, as the greatest political crime in the history of our country. And so he is not disinclined to go for hyperbole, if you will, when it comes to these kinds of things, including about his own appearance, but certainly about these other matters. And say, Mike, right before we get to that, I also want to underscore one other thing related to this New Jersey thing and the Hunter Biden emails, which I forgot to mention in response to one of your written questions before. You know, the Post article also includes a photo, and again, it's unclear whether or not this was provided by the repairman, but it shows a federal court subpoena that the FBI seized the computer and the hard drive back in December. Again, just your listeners, you know this, but if in fact you are cooperating with the FBI, you can simply turn that over. If it's been abandoned, there's no need for an FBI subpoena. There's no need for a grand jury subpoena, something issued by federal authorities. You've got the authority after it's been abandoned, if you will, especially if you think it's evidence of either a crime or some other nefarious kind of activity. That can simply be voluntarily, consensually turned over. And so again, just one more small reason technologically to suspect that that entire story is false.
Oh, you just want to hold them to a standard of truth and credibility, Jim. Well, that doesn't work around here. Let's talk about Donald Trump's reaction to the social media companies sort of limiting the spread of this unproven, unverified, some would say uncredible article at the New York Post. And Donald Trump, of course, claiming this is some sort of censorship. Jim, want to get your interpretation. It seems like a fine line that these social media companies are walking, but you can understand perhaps why.
Absolutely. And again, the First Amendment, as we have spoken before, gives all of us, including media, an awfully broad opportunity and prerogative and judgment, all those kinds of things, to publish things. And that's what the First Amendment is about. People say, that we don't limit things except in those instances where you are inciting violence, causing affirmative harm, all sorts of small limitations, but fairly narrow when it comes to the application of the First Amendment. And so this latest issue about the possibility of media companies and the reality of their making decisions that limit the kinds of, frankly, crazy stories that are out there, plainly tests that, if you will. But I would offer once again that it goes back to journalism, not to suggest that journalists have to be perfect. But our fundamental problem with so much of this, even the things posted on social media, is that they begin with somebody somewhere maintaining that you're an accurate reporter of what's going on, whether you're a formal journalist or not, and it gets picked up and then spread. And that's the great challenge that we have in the early part of the 21st century when it comes to social media. And everyone can see these things. They have a life of their own. That is not to say that First Amendment does not permit an awful lot of expression. Some of it can, in fact, be wrong and misleading without being violative of some statutory law. But we look once again for corporate officials, the people who own these social media outlets. We look to our government officials. We look to journalists. We look to citizens every single day to separate the wheat from the chaff and to say, you know what, this is not even close to being accurate. Let's not promote this. Let's keep this off of the airwaves. And let's again talk about more important things like, for example, policing reform and civil rights and all these other things and healthcare that we do need to be focusing on. And let's have debates about those things that are meaningful and that get us somewhere.
Jim, not to digress too far, because I do want to talk unmasking first, but during the hearing for Amy Coney Barrett, she was questioned, what are the 5 rights extended by the First Amendment? And it seemed like protest wasn't on her memory, on her list. Jim, do you think that's lack of knowledge, the bright lights of the hearing? Or do you think she just doesn't want to offend the guy who appoints her to the court?
For all of the amendments, frankly, are the kinds of things that someone who is an academic, she has been at Notre Dame, she's been in the Court of Appeals for about 3 years or so, plainly has been a student of the law for all of her career, clerked for Justice Scalia. It's the kind of thing that you may not get them right in terms of order, the way that James Madison and George Mason and others wrote them a couple of hundred years ago, but you're able to articulate at some point the fundamental notions that are out there in those amendments. And I'm not saying that they have to be precise, but those kinds of things should come to your mind fairly quickly, even under the bright lights, even under the press, if you will, of those kinds of questions. I'd like to think that, again, in a more calm setting, she knows them, she understands them, but language is meaningful. And I suspect that you're right, Mike, that in some ways we're also playing to not only an American audience, but also an audience of someone who's sitting at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Come back with us. James Santelle, a fine guest. Some would call him the chosen one. No, that's Trump describing himself. More Devil's Advocates, the happy hour. It continues. Your phone calls welcome here. 844-967-2789.
They'd like to get Jesus.
I don't think Jesus would be very happy with Donald Trump one bit at all.
I am the chosen one.
I like to think of Jesus like with giant eagle's wings and singing lead vocals for Leonard Skinner with like an angel band. And I'm in the front row and I'm hammered drunk.
But nobody likes me. Suburban women, will you please like me?
Talk radio made for the 99%. Only on 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, Wisconsin's home for Devil Radio.
Wash your hands, avoid sick people, and touching your face. There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Visit cdc.gov/COVID-19. Brought to you by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
For voters with a disability, exercising the right to vote can be a difficult task, but during a pandemic, it can be nearly impossible. The Wisconsin Disability Vote Coalition encourages you to check your voter registration online and request an absentee ballot for the November general election at myvote.wi.gov. Questions about your registration or requesting an absentee ballot? Call 1-800-DIS-VOTE. That's 1-800-DIS-VOTE or go to disabilityvote.org.
Make your plan to vote today.
This message brought to you in part by the Wisconsin Disability Vote Coalition. Stream the Devils in progressive news and talk 24/7 at the Devil's Advocates Radio Network, Wisconsin. That's DARNWI.com. That's DARNWI.com.
The campaign heats up. I'm Tim McGuire with an AP News Minute. The nation's top infectious disease doctor, Anthony Fauci, asked the Trump campaign to pull down a TV ad featuring him. Now, President Trump slams Fauci on the campaign trail.
You ever see any conflicts? But he's a nice guy, so I keep him around, right? We'll keep him around. He's a Democrat. Everybody knows that.
Trump at a rally in North Carolina. The White House is also pushing herd immunity. Fauci tells ABC's Good Morning America that's nonsense.
If you talk to anybody who has any experience in epidemiology and infectious diseases, they will tell you that that is risky and you'll wind up with many more infections of vulnerable people, which will lead to hospitalizations and deaths.
Both Trump and Joe Biden holding competing town hall meetings tonight, Trump on NBC, Biden ABC, the two events taking the place of a previously planned town hall. The moderators selected for that, C-SPAN political editor Steve Scully, has been suspended after admitting he lied about his Twitter account being hacked. I'm Tim McGuire.
T-Mobile for Business knows saving time and money is important for your business. That's why we're introducing Microsoft 365 on us, now included in our best business plans. With Office apps, Microsoft Teams, cloud storage, and more, Microsoft 365 on us gives you the tools you need to run your business. Stop by a T-Mobile store today. Qualifying plan required. Contactless to activate. 1 license per line, max 2 per account. Third-party terms apply. See T-Mobile.com for plan details.
Walgreens has always been there to help make your healthcare easier. From making sure you have the prescriptions you need to answering any questions you have about them. Now, the question is whether you have the right Medicare plan. And we're here to help make that easier too. Walgreens can save you money and peace of mind with copays as low as $0. Visit walgreens.com/Medicare today to see how. Walgreens, we make Medicare easy. $0 copay on Tier 1 generic drugs when enrolled in a plan with Walgreens as a preferred pharmacy.
For Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM, I'm Luke Mathers with your headlines for Thursday, October 15th. Watchdog Group seeks ethics probe of Oshkosh project by Senator Johnson's children. A Washington, D.C. government watchdog group is asking the State Ethics Commission to look into historic tax credits awarded to the children of Senator Ron Johnson 3 years ago. The ethics complaint surrounds the approval of historic tax credits worth up to $2.1 million. Since its deadline moved to October 15th, several Wisconsin counties still have low response rate, while Wisconsin ranks third in the nation with a self-response rate of 72.1%. If you haven't yet responded to the census, you can still do so today at 2020census.gov. Windy day throughout the area today with a high of 50 degrees and a low of 34 degrees. You're listening to Devil Radio, 92.7 FM and WTTN 1580 AM.
the Devil's Advocates, because freedom.
Very powerful.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show, the dueling Thursday night town hall edition. It continues. Got a fine guest. He's filling in for Dominic. He is former U.S. Attorney James Santelle. Jim, appreciate you sticking around because I got a question.
Lots to talk about.
Let's talk about the unmasking dud. What happened, Jim? They've closed the investigation. No charges. I thought the entire Obama administration was going to prison, but no, they're there again.
According to the president, much of the administration, the prior administration, should have gone to prison. Again, as I indicated before, greatest political crime in the history of our country. And as you know, the president is right now upset with our attorney general, probably not only for failing to indicate that this is going to be a matter for investigation, a future investigation, but also indicated that there are not going to be any indictments of former President Obama or the Vice President Joe Biden. So what is this all about? Unmasking, not related directly, if you will, to Halloween, but as you know, we've talked about this at great length before. National security officials will routinely make requests of this sort as they read and try to figure out, try to understand certain intelligence reports and classified information that comes to them in the course of their natural duties. Now, under the law, for privacy reasons, all kinds of things that are kind of wonkish, the names of Americans who may be showing up in those reports are typically redacted, blacked out, something like that you have bemoaned when it comes to the Mueller report and other documents. So they're taken out, again, for privacy reasons, for statutory reasons, but officials can, in fact, ask for that information if it helps them understand these information pieces, the communications with foreign officials, and under the appropriate, legitimate, rational examination of those requests, they can be unredacted, right? And you can produce that information. This just makes sense. You don't do this in all instances, but it helps define and give context for the national security report. So back in May or so, there are a number of names released, Obama administration officials who inquired or did some unmasking in 2016, 2017. That included John Brennan, the CIA director, and the ambassador of the United Nations, James Clapper, others, James Comey, many other people. And it turns out, of course, that the reason for their request for unmasking was they wanted to figure out who was talking to a Russian. In particular, it becomes clear that this is someone who is, again, still much in the news. This is Michael Flynn talking, as we have said, in the wake of the election to Russians about sanctions being imposed. Makes perfect sense that you need to figure out who that is. Also very important because Mike Flynn now becomes the National Security Director. Got that report, of course, the account of Sally Yates, then the Attorney General, running up to the White House saying that he is compromised. So it opens up an entire closet full, if you will, of problems here. But the issue about unmasking is just that. It isn't a legitimate thing to do by proper officials under the appropriate circumstances and done here appropriately. So the claim, of course, and the reason why this matter was sent off to a United States attorney named John Bash, who used to be until very recently, U.S. attorney in Western Texas. He is going to look at whether or not there was any abuse of this process, unmasking. And sure enough, he comes back and he says, you know what? An expression that I'm using an awful lot today and have before. There's no there. There's nothing to look at here, nothing improper, no impropriety, and we're done with that. And of course, the Department of Justice says this wasn't an investigation. It was simply kind of a statement about what happened and some disclosures about what Mr. Bash found. But again, news not received well by the president, and again, indicating that he was hoping that this political crime of the century, in the greatest crime in the history of our country, would be in part revealed. And now, of course, we learn that the Bash finding of there being nothing here to look at, no problematic thing, is now given to John Durham, who's looking at this omnibus issue about Russia and other things. So presumably we still have not heard the last of it. We're hoping that John Durham will come to the same conclusion that Mr. Bash did, that again, nothing to look at here, no problematic reason to believe that there was unmasking of an inappropriate nature, but the beat goes on and the story is probably not dead.
Jim, Attorney General Bill Barr is now seemingly diverging from the president's whim and will. And I would wonder, do you think it's simply that Barr is intelligent enough to know that the end might be near, and that if he pushes this level of corruption, that he could subject himself to some sort of criminal prosecution? Jim, do you think that Barr's just too smart to get caught up in the actual criminality?
You know, Bill Barr, even though, as you have pointed out to me, did not become the Attorney General that I anticipated when he was first appointed and nominated, confirmed by the Senate. He is also a bright person. He knows institutionally how the Department of Justice works. He understands where the real landmines can be and understands where the limits even of the kinds of things that he has done, which I would offer again, cross the lines of historical limits for the Department of Justice and for the Attorney General. But he understands that perhaps even for in his world, there is a line that he should not cross. And I suspect you've just identified it, Mike, which is at some point you say, gosh, and he has said, you know what, we're not going to be prosecuting Barack Obama. We're not going to be prosecuting Vice President Joe Biden. We're not going to be doing these things. I will send this off to some U.S. attorneys to take a look at. It will be fascinating to see if, in fact, John Durham does produce a report. Now, again, not before the election, plainly that's not going to happen. Maybe another reason for the president not to be especially pleased with the Attorney General right now. But again, I think there is something to your point in your question that even this Attorney General, who I would offer to you has far crossed the line when it comes to involvement with cases, Roger Stone, Mike Flynn, other things out there that we have talked about at great length. Even he recognizes that you don't want to go down this route. And certainly, you know, a president calling for the prosecutions of your political rivals, does that sound like the United States of America? No, that sounds like some other countries that we know about. And I think Bill Barr is bright enough to recognize that distinction, even if he's willing to cross through and over many others.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Got a fine co-host for the hour. He is former U.S. Attorney Jim Santelle. And Jim, before we turn to Amy Coney Barrett, want to get some of our audience in. 844-967-2789. Go into the lines, as my pal Matt Flynn would say. Pizza Box Mike, what do you got for us? Say hi to Jim Santelle.
Hey, Jim. It's kind of hard to follow him up. You know, having smart people on is not really what you guys are famous for. But anyway, I'm hoping, okay, because we always hear this, you know, that, well, if the shoe was on the other foot, you know, I'm not confident that we're going to get Trump out of office because of election fraud that they've been projecting and probably perpetrating at the same time. I've seen this enough in Wisconsin. That they go after these guys and prosecute them, not over politics and stuff, nothing to do with that at all, over criminal. And I mean, they did it, and it's just what they've done to the country, you know, is what they did to Wisconsin, and now the whole country is feeling it. And it just makes me sick, and I'm hoping we can pull this out, guys, but you know, listen, Trump will do anything to make sure he can keep himself out of criminal trouble, right? And the Republicans are famous for doing anything to win, right? Have we had enough winning in Wisconsin? We're number one. What? Alcoholism, racism, roundabouts, COVID. Hey, we got Robin Voss getting hundreds of thousands of dollars for his business while hardworking people got nothing. Ron Johnson, skimming tax refunds of a couple million to his kids. And we got the number one dingleberry in the Congress, Glenn Grothman, who never said one negative word about the president over all this criminality. And that's about all I got today.
Appreciate your call, Pizza Box. 844-967-2789. I don't know what Pizza Box Mike has against roundabouts, but I agree with pretty much everything else he said, Jim.
There's an awful lot that one can unpack there, and I would suggest that virtually all of it is legitimate and comes from a thoughtful analysis of what's going on in America. I will add this simple matter, which we've talked about before, which is, you know, the criminal bar is a high one when it comes to proving intent and purpose, those kinds of things. You know, Mike made the comment that the president is advocating again for his reelection in part because it may keep him out of jail. Certainly on a federal side, we know that that's the case. There is this memorandum inside the Department of Justice that says a sitting president cannot be indicted. But once again, we recognize that the Attorney General of the state of New York is not only pursuing matters, but most specifically, the Manhattan DA is looking at criminal charges, the possibility of criminal activity by our president involving finances, generally speaking, broadly speaking, widely speaking, tax matters, all those kinds of things. And whether he wins or loses, you'd like to think that those kinds of prosecutions would in fact go forward, if in fact there's a basis to do them. I'm not prejudging that, but Cy Vance is a bright guy, and he will make the right decisions on this. If the president, our present president, is reelected, one of the other specters could very well be a state prosecution of the president of the United States of America, not precluded by a Department of Justice memorandum. Talk about the crisis we would be facing at that time. But again, we hope that somehow, looking at all of this, that the political process, as Mike was just indicating, would address it, that people would educate themselves and understand that not just policy, but also basic fundamental decency in the conduct of your office needs to be restored. And that is not what we have right now. And the criminal prosecution, as I said, that's the extreme. We need to ensure that our elected officials are operating at a level that is truly responsive to what the American public needs and wants and expects.
Jim, back in April of 2020, the state of Wisconsin, there were lots of threatened lawsuits. And my thought was, if it had been a close race between Joe Karofsky and Dan Kelly, indeed, there would have been litigation. And I have no doubt the Trump team would do just the same. But, of course, the race was not close, 163,000 votes or more, the margin of victory for Karofsky. And all thoughts of challenging the outcome and litigation, it all went by the wayside. Well, Jim, the people of Wisconsin were pissed, to my opinion. Even the reasonable Republicans, even the thoughtful independents, they were angry that they were forced out in a pandemic to vote. And I would say the people of America, and I'm looking at Georgia and 10-hour lines to go early vote. Jim, I don't see any MAGA hats. I don't think it's Trump voters lining up by the mile to go vote early. I think it will be a blue wave sort of election. But God forbid it's a flip of a coin here in the state of Wisconsin and a handful of other battleground states. Jim, how do the Democrats prepare for a civil war of electoral litigation if it's a coin flip?
This is the great question that hopefully everyone is preparing for right now, because again, I concur with you that I think America is tired and it is exhausted by not only the language coming out of Washington and the White House, but also from the policies and the practices and these kinds of things day after day. So I would like to think that there will be a decisive result on November 3rd, or perhaps if we've got to finish up some counting of mail-in ballots in the days after that, that will happen. If, however, in a number of states like Wisconsin, like Pennsylvania, like Michigan, perhaps other places around the country, it is close and the numbers don't quite come to 270 on either side, that's the magic figure you've got to get to on election eve or rather election night and in the following days. If that doesn't happen, the difference between the Karofsky-Kelly election campaign and this one is now you're fighting battles in 3 or 4 or 5 different locations, and you're going to be going in perhaps to state courts. I would advocate my own bias, federal courts, which I think do have a more general applicability when it comes to the Voting Rights Act. But this is going to be the kind of thing that on election night and beyond, the response has got to be immediate. And frankly, lawyers on both sides, judges on all sides need to be prepared for these kinds of things. Even on the day, voting day itself, if in fact there are lines, again, as long as we have seen recent in the South, if you've got people waiting 11 hours in line, we've got to be going to judges saying, keep those polls open. Keep those polls open, make certain people have the right to vote. That's got to be done even on that day. There's an awful lot of activity that needs to be taken care of to ensure that we've got a good election coming up here.
Well, we got to take a break. Coming back with more of your phone calls and conversation about Amy Coney Barrett, 844-967-2789. More Devils.
We better be careful because that election is going to be rigged. And I hope the Republicans are watching closely or it's going to...
Maxing Radio, this is Rocker. Hey, Jimmy, I've been invited to the White House, and he wants me to bring some of that guacamole. What if he double dips, Jimmy?
Double Dip with Maxing on Devil Radio 92.7 FM. In-depth interviews, new music, and plenty of throwbacks. Saturday, 6 p.m.
Right back to the beginning, Rocker.
This is Tony with Quality CBD. We are located on Willie Street across from the co-op. At Quality CBD, we are vertically integrated. From soil to oil and seed to sale, we grow, extract, manufacture, and distribute quality CBD oil. We also have contact-free delivery options at qualitycbd.org. Quality CBD. Legal, local, legit.
Hey, Dom, how many palindromes can you name in 30 seconds?
Race car, mom, dad, reefer, kayak, level. Did I say mom already?
You're forgetting one really important one.
Zero res.
Not only is it the coolest palindrome ever, it's also our favorite.
Right, I remember. Why is that again?
They advertise with us.
Zero res, my favorite palindrome.
And carpet cleaner.
Get
the best carpet cleaning ever. Schedule your carpet cleaning online at zeroresmedicine.com. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
Stream the Devils and progressive news and talk 24/7 at the Devil's Advocates Radio Network, Wisconsin. That's DARNWI.com. That's DARNWI.com.
Hi, everybody. This is Santita Jackson of the Santita Jackson Show. Every Friday morning at 7 o'clock, let's fix our society by fixing ourselves with the Love Doc, Dr. Brenda Wade on the Santita Jackson Show on 92.7 FM.
From Baraboo to Horicon, WTTN 1580 AM is News Talk Radio built for the 99%. Rural Wisconsin's home for Devil Radio.
See, I come from a time where they didn't put rear view mirrors on the passenger side.
The Devil's Advocates, radio for the 99%.
And this is for those who still drink malt liquor. Put the poison in your body just to pass out quicker. When death calls, best believe it's gonna get all the
Devil's Advocates Radio Show. One last segment for this happy hour. Got James Santelle, my fine co-host today. And don't forget, stick around the Earl Ingram Show with Valerie Jarrett. What a get. Earl, I'm quite envious. But I got to find guest. He'll help us take it to the finish line. Jim, got to ask you, Amy Coney Barrett, Trump boasted today that she was toying with those evil Democrats in her confirmation hearing. Jim, was that your impression? The Dems are evil and she was toying with them?
That is not my impression at all. And it certainly is a part of our process, right? Not only under the Constitution that requires that the United States Senate provide advice and consent for the president's nominees. And this is what has been happening, not always with hearings for Supreme Court justices way back in our history, but certainly our recent contemporary history is that the Judiciary Committee of the United States Senate, both parties, both sides, everyone who is on that committee has an opportunity to quiz the nominee on qualifications, the things that he or she will bring to the bench. Interestingly, we've got, she is plainly would be occupying the seat that was formerly held by Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, for what it's worth, confirmed under the Clinton administration 96-3. We forget about that. But she's also the one who codified the notion of the Ginsburg rule, which is that most often in contemporary history, our Supreme Court nominees decline to comment on specific cases. And Ruth Bader Ginsburg has done that. Plainly, others since that time have done the same. But I would offer that even inside the Ginsburg rule, and even in the course of the hearings with Amy Coney Barrett now concluded, that you can in fact ask questions of a candidate, a nominee rather, for the Supreme Court that get to judicial philosophy. And I think there was some of that going on, not all of it. Some of it was case specific, but I'd prefer to see an abandonment of what's sometimes been called a kind of kabuki theater. And instead, let's talk about judicial philosophy. Let's talk about the energy that you need to bring to the Supreme Court, the kinds of insights that you would have. Those kinds of things should be front and center. regrettably, they're not always there, but this is a process that is hugely important. And the American public need to consume, if not all of it, at least some of it to understand who the president is nominated and who likely will be confirmed by the United States Senate by probably about October 23rd, if not before.
Well, the Judiciary Committee, led by Lindsey Graham, Republican, of course, they tell us they're going to vote on October 22nd to move her out of committee into the full Senate. And we know they got the votes, Jim. Real quick, a couple of the questions she would not answer, not to my satisfaction, perhaps the most galling. Climate change. Do you believe in climate change? Her response, I'm not a scientist. It reminded me of Scott Walker punting on evolution. I think that's when I started calling Walker wanker. But what was your impression? Climate change, that seems like an obvious one.
Right. There were several in this category that we can talk about. That certainly is one of them. And it's the kind of thing that, again, you can simply acknowledge the concept without deciding how it is that particular known event, that set of scientific principles will be applied. And I would offer to you that question and her response is especially significant because just about 10 days or so ago, maybe in a week or so ago, the Supreme Court, which she will be sitting on probably in the next couple of weeks, has decided to take a climate change case coming out of Baltimore. Now, it has to do with whether or not the case should be in the state or federal court. Baltimore is suing some energy providers, alleging that because of what they're doing to the waters around Baltimore, they're compromising safety and security, but also it's a climate change case. And it's coming before the Supreme Court in this term. And so again, that's not to ask her about the specifics of the Baltimore case, but to say, do you believe in that concept? Brown versus Board of Education. Do you believe that separate is inherently unequal? Do you believe in Griswold, that case that talks about privacy rights? That's the basis for so much of our understanding, our jurisprudence since that time, and the basic rights of all Americans. Those kinds of things, a candidate should not be disinclined, should be completely open and frankly eager and enthusiastic to say, yes, I embrace that concept. I don't know how I'm going to apply that down the road for particular circumstances. And I'm going to invoke the Ginsburg rule and not tell you about the merits of it on a particular case. But do I believe in these broad concepts? Do I believe in free speech and freedom to assemble and yes, freedom to protest? Yes, the answer is yes. And it doesn't confine you down the road. It doesn't in any way indicate that, my goodness, she is committed now to a specific decision in this case. Just the opposite. It gives you a sense, again, as I said before, about the judicial philosophy and what you bring to this all-important role. Americans need to know that. The climate change question is one illustration of a number of these during the course of the hearing that I found equally troubling.
Jim, a two-parter, and you can have the rest of the time effectively. Presidential pardons and voter suppression had to be defined for her by Amy Klobuchar. What was your impression, Coney Barrett's answers or non-answers on those two topics?
Sure. And once again, I would go back to what I just said, which is that there are cases, there are plainly not just journalistic reports, but there are things in our public knowledge, our sense of what's going on today, that plainly indicate that voter suppression is a concern. She doesn't even have to say, if you will, that it's happening in a particular spot. But are we as a nation, as you as a Supreme Court justice, as a citizen, frankly, as a mother, concerned about your children, perhaps your grandchildren one day, are you concerned about the notion that people, for whatever reason, because of whatever immutable characteristic or not that they may bring to the voting practice, are you concerned that someone would say, we don't want you to vote, and we're going to affirmatively do something to stop you from voting, not because it goes to the legitimacy of the voting process itself, but because we don't want your vote? Don't we want to have a Supreme Court associate justice who is willing to say, I want everybody in America to have an equal right to vote? Yes, there are certain qualifications and there are certain procedures you need to go through. Those kinds of things have got to be a part of the system. But the broad concept, once again, all the things we've talked about today, those she should be able to embrace. And I would offer as a final perspective on this that, all these candidates, whether you're for appellate courts or district courts, frankly, U.S. attorneys, are also prepped by the United States Department of Justice. In that process, there's got to be a bit more of if you will, letting the nominee rather, talk about who they are so the American public has that confidence out there.
James Santelle, former U.S. Attorney, thank you so much. Thank you to all our fine guests. They included Attorney Matt Flynn and, of course, Khizr Khan, the Gold Star father. We appreciate everyone for listening, and please stick around the Earl Ingram Show. His fine guest, Valerie Jarrett. Have a great night and a happy weekend. Devil's Advocates live again on Monday. My little buddy Dom is back.
You two characters are going to Top Gun.
They call me the ratings machine.
You're full of
Always two there are. No more.
There are everyday actions to help prevent the spread of respiratory diseases. Wash your hands. Avoid close contact with people who are sick.